Welcome back, everyone. Welcome back to another weekend edition here of the PondCast episode number 99, your weekly dose of all things StarCraft. I'm, of course, your host, VIP, with you, I'm joined by the lovely people in the chats, and, of course, by Kuro, handling the production behind the scenes. Welcome, one and all, to our weekly talk show where we do discuss all things StarCraft and all things StarCraft adjacent, and there is a lot to get into this week. A lot to get into, a lot to discuss. A lot of it we've been discussing throughout the course of the week as well in regards to the patch, but before we get to the StarCraft II Hotfix Patch, we will be getting into an interview that was hosted and conducted by the SCHistorian. Leading into Maestros of the game, it felt like the SCHistorian just kind of like mass uploaded a bunch of maybe interviews that he had in the backlog. Maybe he was holding on to them for a bit. They looked at the calendar. He was like, "Oh god," he's like, "Maestros is happening in like 2 days," and he just bit him. He just uploaded everything all at once. We'll be going over the first one here, which was an interview with TKL. And honestly, it was a well done interview. It was honestly a well done interview. Very often when we do cover the SE story, we sometimes have some critique as to maybe something that was not quite brought up or discussed. But I found this to be very interesting here. So winding it back here, TKL, of course, he is one of the big names in the French scene, the French community, a big part of Comeback TV, alongside Funka and alongside Coca as well. And of course, he was a part of O Gaming a couple of years ago before it did end up disbanding or shutting down. Coming from the scene, the foreign scene, right outside of France, I would say that I don't think it was ever really publicized too much what happened necessarily with O Gaming. I feel like there were a bunch of details surrounding that, which wasn't really published or wasn't really freely accessible to the English-speaking community. So I do appreciate that that the SCHistorian was able to actually ask about that, and TKL was more than happy to actually delve into it. More than likely, like, this was a little bit more publicly known, but maybe only to the French community itself, to the more impacted community. But it was great to hear from TKL about his rise into StarCraft, getting into StarCraft, meeting up with some and joining forces with some of the other French casters and community members, and of course the founding of O Gaming, and then later Comeback TV, of course, as well. It was really interesting. It was really interesting to hear, to listen to, and to get a little bit of context regarding what happened at O Gaming, regarding how apparently there was basically some internal strife in the company between League of Legends and the League of Legends section and the other section, of course, and the StarCraft II section of the company. Didn't get into too much details as to what the issue was, whether it was money related, whether it was opportunity related, or a mixture of the two. We were being told here that the League of Legends division was basically the moneymaker of the company. So more than likely, like, they wanted to take the company in a certain direction, and maybe there was there was again some internal conflict regarding the direction of the company itself. And it sounds like that League of Legends section, they just peeled off, they disconnected, they left O Gaming, and they started their own company instead to do things their own way. And in the end, that meant that O Gaming had to disband, as they couldn't quite fund themselves without that League of Legends branch. And that's how it all kind of came to an end. That was quite a number of years ago at this point, before the rise of Comeback TV. So it was really cool to hear, really interesting to listen to in regards to kind of the period of StarCraft surrounding that. And of course, it was nice to listen in on of course, the French scene, the French community as well. They touched on it a little bit here, but of course, like, the French scene has always been quite strong in regards to StarCraft support, thanks to top players in France. They kind of touched on it a little bit here regarding, like, Stefano, Littlebo, Marine Lord. They didn't quite touch on, like, other players like Firecake, but I feel like the French scene has always been very, very strong, even pre-Clem, when it comes to having these big notable players that surrounds the scene and that prop up the scene in the community as well. More so or as much as other kind of big, like, European countries. So it was really nice. It was really nice to hear. It feels like this is a section of the community that we don't really get to hear too much from in recent times. So it was great to hear from that perspective, especially again from, like, an outsider looking in. Not really that's too privy to the French community and to the French scene in general in StarCraft, despite how big it is, of course. So it was really cool hearing about some of the crowdfunding as well. They touched a little bit on national or regional events in regards to, like, events for upcoming players, the underdogs tournaments that we used to host as well, of course. And part of me wishes that they delved maybe a little bit more into like the regional stuff, but I also understand that again, like we have like a series of French interviews that are coming in. So we have TKL, then we have Shadown, DNS, Funka, Coca. There's like quite a lot there's going to be a lot of French content that we're going to be getting in regards to interviews and hearing from their side of things. So that's something to look forward to, and this is kind of like the first of many kind of interviews that have been released here in regards to the French scene. And it was really well done. It's really well done, really cool to hear, especially because nowadays, like, TKL is a big part of the StarCraft scene, even not just when it comes to the French community, but internationally in regards to Monday Night Weeklies, and even more so, like, I feel like TKL, has become the most prominent other language caster, now that I think about it, because Take TV and Bovo, like, they don't really cast much StarCraft. Like, they do their events, and every now and then, like, they branch out into like a Monday Night Weekly or into covering like one of these other events in German. But I feel like it's quite rare. Like, they don't really do that too much or too often. When it comes to Enki and Cosmos, they're always there for like the big events, but because of time zones, like, they're not always able to cover everything that they can. I think Enki does his best, right, to cover as much as he can via at least replays. But at least Cosmos, like, it's mainly like the bigger events live, and like the weeklies, like, less so. Like, he dips his toes in every now and then, I will say. I think of Indie. Maybe Kura can speak a little bit more on this as well, but I don't know how much. Maybe Indie casts as much as TKL. Like, I don't know if you follow Indie a little bit more with what he covers. Obviously, like, when it comes to European events, we've taken a bit of a step back, so I can't speak too much on how active Indie is when it comes to casting as much as he can,
I always
comparatively
say
to TKL.
I don't follow Indie as closely to tell you exactly, but I'm fairly sure that he's live like every day with something.
Mm-hmm.
Like I keep
Yeah.
like at the very least I keep seeing him on socials, like posting about casting various things.
Yeah. So it's like I feel like it's like Indie and TKO who like are probably like the biggest European casters right now. Well, like the most active. Maybe that's a better way of putting it. And maybe Vegas as well. Like they do a lot nowadays, and it feels like some of the other countries, some of the other regions have pulled back a little bit more. So I got a little respect for TKL for the work that he does, and for what he brings to the table, and not just for casting, but for tournament organizing as well. So it's great to hear from TKL and from the other French guys. So it's great. It's great. Shout out to the SCHistorian. If you do want to delve into some of the more specificities, some of the specifics about TKL and about the French scene and about O Gaming and Comeback TV and Maestros of the game, then they did discuss it, of course. Themselves, talking about crowdfunding and again the fall of O Gaming, the rise of Comeback TV. Again, they didn't delve too far into it because they had a lot of ground to cover. But I would imagine that as a part of a series with all these other interviews with all these other French community members, I feel like you'll be able to piece together like the puzzle of the scene in a better light once you're able to consume all of that content and all of said interviews. But it was well done. It was well done. I do appreciate it. But yeah, that kind of wraps up our TKL interview. We didn't quite. Our week has been quite busy, so we do have all these interviews with Shadown, with DNS, with all the other French community members as well. We'll be discussing that a little bit further next week. We'll be discussing it. This week again, there's the patch is upon us. Meanwhile, very quickly as well, big shout out to BeoMulf. BeoMulf, he has taken a step back from StarCraft casting. I want to say the last StarCraft content that BeoMulf was a part of was Stars Agora. Like, he was a big part of Stars Agora and was able to be a part of those offline events. Of course, he was a much bigger community caster quite some time ago, like maybe 2 years ago. And when Stormgate kind of popped off, and when it first hit the international and the mainstream a little bit more, when it comes to their like beta content, BeoMulf, he dove in headfirst. I would say that like he dove in very much so headfirst into Stormgate, and he does a lot of Stormgate content, and was, I would say, maybe one of the bigger Stormgate content creators, making tournaments, casting tournaments as well.
I want to say that like it's not just that he like dove into casting. I'm pretty sure he had like a news service of sorts where like he would be like the one like doing like community news essentially for the entire thing.
Yeah, he went all in on Stormgate. Like, as you said, I think he made was it the Nexus? Like he, as you said, like he made
Something like that,
like
yeah.
a yeah, like a social media platform and a Discord full of like Stormgate news and Stormgate content, and like he committed quite hard to that. And from my understanding, he did have some success with that as well. Of course, did have some success. But you know, with Stormgate dying down, I'm sure he's kind of like focusing on other aspects of his career and of his life, of course. And a part of that is the fact that you know he got married. Apparently they eloped, so it was a little bit sudden. But regardless, congratulations to BeoMulf. Again, someone who might not fully be like ingrained in StarCraft nowadays, but still, you know, has history in StarCraft and still does dip his toes in every now and then. So congratulations. ST BeoMulf. GG. GG, well played, Pappy. Got married. Congratulations.
I love it when, like, I don't know if you guys notice this, but every time Light speaks about somebody getting married, he's like, GG, well played. I'm like, yeah.
Well,
sure.
I mean, you say that. I'm pretty sure I said that for like, I don't know, like Dark, like having a kid.
Yeah,
like,
yeah, the kids being born also like GG.
Yeah.
True.
Let's go. Next game. But congratulations to BeoMulf. We wish him the best. In this new aspect of his life. And again, we'll see if he does ever dip his toes back into StarCraft. Up next, we did have ONSYDE. This caught me by surprise. ONSYDE is making a couple of waves, bearing in mind that ONSYDE is a little bit smaller than it used to be. They did have a big partnership with Team Vitality for a long time, but with EWC no longer supporting StarCraft, Team Vitality, they ended their partnership with ONSYDE. And as a result of that, I just assumed that maybe ONSYDE will be keeping things a little bit leaner and to be able to run their team. But no, that changed a little bit a couple of weeks ago when they announced that they signed Neeb. But if you remember, that was purely, from our understanding, was purely for Douyu Cup. Whether that continues and whether Neeb plays in more events, still yet to be confirmed. But for now, he is representing the team. And then suddenly, SHIN, he's been teamless for quite some time. He was on Weibo Gaming previously, but has actually joined ONSYDE, which I feel like is a really nice fit considering what the team is kind of becoming. Yes, they do have some top players like Maru and Zaun, but right, they support Crank, right? They support content creation, and that's who SHIN is. SHIN, he's probably the best example of player / content creator at the highest level of play, right? Like SHIN, he's arguably the best Zerg player in South Korea right now. You can make an argument between SHIN and Solar, but he's one of the best Zergs in the world, and he makes a lot of content. He does stream a lot, he does cast quite a bit, even taking a bigger role into casting and tournament creation as well. So SHIN has been doing more of that as of late. So yeah, I do think that he's a really nice fit for the team, and I think he can bring a lot of value to the team as well as a caster, as a player, like as a content creator, in a bunch of different roles. He wears a lot of hats, for sure. So really cool, really exciting. Bearing in mind that ONSYDE, they also, of course, sponsored the last season of GSL. From my understanding, there most likely won't be a third season of GSL. There's like potential that it might still get funded. But you know what? They've got all this GSL money left over that they're going to be sponsoring another season. They're like, you know what? Sponsor a player. Let's grow the team even further, Pappy. Let's go. So big shout out to ONSYDE. Congratulations to SHIN for joining the team as well. Look forward to what they can do in the future here, and yeah, what team content can be made as well. Look forward to it. Best of luck. Congratulations to SHIN. SHIN. Then up next, we do have, of course, the big news of the week. That is the StarCraft II Hotfix Patch. Again, it didn't occur too long ago. It's been only a couple of days. Like, it feels like it's been longer than that, to be honest. It's like things move so quickly in StarCraft, so quickly. This was released, of course, on the 1st of July. It is now the 3rd of July. It's only been 3 days, but it feels like it's been like a week, just because there's been so much content and so much surrounding this as well. First things first, of course, good news. We did have a hotfix patch. I do know that there were some doubters or some people that were very doomer, like Zombie Grub is a big example of that didn't believe that there would be like another patch. I was very confident. I said at the time that there would be a patch as well. I feel like that was pretty obvious. if you're a little bit more ingrained in StarCraft. But if you recall, I believe that it would just be tweaking numbers. I didn't think that they would go a step further than that. And they did, which did catch me by surprise, which I would still say is a good thing. Let's get into it. So first things first, the economy, we're going through all the changes. We'll be adding our own commentary, of course, especially with a couple of days of experience on the new patch as well. The economy change here is Gas Geyser has a gas geysers have now reduced their overall gas or Vespene gas from 2,500 to 2,000. This does now mean that bases, they hold overall less gas, which is a good thing because this is going to be hurting turtle heavy play. It does promote more expansions. It does de-incentivize being hyper defensive. Of course, I won't stop them from being hyper defensive, but it's going to be more difficult to get away with that as you now have less gas than previously. I'll say this is a step in a good direction. Up next, of course, we had the most controversial thing about the last patch that we've had for around a week now, and that is the lava rate increase from 9.5 to 9.9. If you remember, originally it was 10.7, then it got reduced to 9, then it got increased to 9.5, and now it's been increased to 9.9. Again, the initial decrease was very apparently overtuned and a step too far. That was done during the PTR version 2, if you recall, and GSLCK number 4 was showcasing that 9-second increased lava rate, which again was 100% a step too far. Like, it was very apparent from the beginning. They've been winding it back and winding it back even further. Have they wound it back enough? It is hard to say. What I will say, now experiencing multiple tournaments on this new hotfix, is that ZVT has been much more competitive. Like, it's actually been really good. If you've been watching, say, SHIN versus Cure, Solo versus Beyond, Solo versus Clem as well, we've been casting a lot of ZVTs, purposely so, featuring Cure, Beyond, Solar, SHIN, and Clem. And leading up to this patch, leading up to this hotfix, we saw a lot of all-ins from Terran players because it was no longer viable to play standard. You could not macro. You could not macro against Zerg because they would just outscale you so quickly. But now, with the increased lava rate, we have seen a lot more back and forth mid-game, and we've seen more competitive games in general, and it's been good. It's been solid due to other changes as well. But I would say this is definitely positive. Is this enough? Should we just revert back to the default 10.7? I mean, time will tell, right? I do think that HomeStory Cup is right around the corner, and that may give us some information. I say may. There's some issues with HomeStory Cup. We'll discuss it at the time, but I do believe that that's going to be the next big tournament that everyone's going to be looking at to kind of judge the current state of balance, the current state of the game, to be able to push further changes and ideas for the next hotfix update. Bearing in mind that the comment at the top of this post, of course, is that we've made some adjustments based on player feedback and player data over the last week. That's true. We will continue to monitor the patch and make further changes if necessary. So they do leave the door open for future changes to be made. And again, this weekend is going to be a big part of that, I feel. Up next, we have the Terran changes, which is the Widowmine lock-on time reduced from 1.07 to 0.85 seconds. Reaper build time increased from 32 to 34. So this change is pretty huge. It is very apparent, by the way, the Widowmine lock-on, and it's had a big influencing factor in ZVT. So again, those matches that I just mentioned, watching Cure, Beyond, Clem, Solar, SHIN, watching all these guys face off, we saw a lot of Widowmine play. And because of this Widowmine change, one, as a Zerg player in ZVT, we'll discuss TVP later. But in ZVT, as a Zerg player, now you have less time to react to try to drag the mine away, to try to force friendly fire and drag the mine in, or try to peel off some units and drag the mine away. You do have significantly less time to react. So because of that, we've been seeing bigger connections on Ling Bane. Likewise, muta play was being increased because of the recent buffs to mutas. If you remember in the previous patch, the muta arc stop has been decreased or has been changed to make it more marketable and to make it more accessible as well. In the previous patch, if you remember, there was that change and buff to the Spire, which also made muta play more accessible. So we did see a lot of Ling Bane muta, and in these past couple of days, whenever we do see Ling Bane muta, it's been punished harder by Widowmines to the point where in the series, Zerg players have stopped going muta play, or have only gone muta play when they're ahead. So this, it's still only a couple of days in. there's a world where this change, the negative impact of this change might be that Zerg players now stop playing Lingbane Muta, and now they're forced into either Roach Ravager Ultra or Lingbane Hydra Lurker instead, which I would say is a negative thing, just because everyone loves Lingbane Muta, right? Everyone loves watching Bio versus Lingbane Muta. Like this dynamic, this back and forth, sparks joy in a lot of a lot of StarCraft viewers and StarCraft fans in general. Like that's like the pinnacle of StarCraft is ZVT Bio versus Lingbane Muta. Like that's been like the core heart of competitive SE2 for a long time. And it was a shame when Mutaplay died out, right? Mutaplay was less viable and less accessible for the past like 3 years, or maybe even more than that, but recently returned last patch with the Spire buff, and we got to see more Mutaplay. Now we saw it even more with the PTR buff, and now we're seeing it less because of the Widowmine buff. So we'll see where the meta settles, but if this does kill off Lingbane Muta, then that would be a shame, and I would say that would be a negative thing done because of this. I say negative because, and I would say that it's de-incentivized. Talking about having less time to react and less time to respond, now mutas are being punished harder. So if they poke in and if mind shots go off, they punish mutas so hard here. As again, you have less time to react and less time to respond. So because of that, it makes Lingbane Mutaplay, it makes the barrier to pull it off and the kind of the skill required to pull it off much higher. And you're playing on a knife's edge basically, where if you make a mistake, then you're cooked. Like, it's over. So because of that, like that may just stop players from playing Lingbane Muta, but it's a little bit too early for me to say that with full confidence. It's only been a couple of days. From my observations, like it looks like that's kind of like the direction of the meta, is we're going to be moving away from that. And not just that, but again, because this is punishing Muta play more, it's also punishing Lingbane play more, then we might revert to 2024, which is Roach Ravager. If you're familiar with the meta in 2024 and 2020 and coming into 2025 as well, it was very common to just play Roach Ravager and Roach Ravager eventually into Ultra, which is what SHIN popularized. Was just we saw a lot of Roach Ravager play in 2024, from Cyril, from Sarah, from Rainer, from all the top Zerg players. Last year as well, it was just heavy Roach Ravager play into eventually Infestor. In recent times, we've been branching out into Lingbane Muta, which I would say is a good thing. But if Lingbane Muta is now less viable against Terran, then we're going to be reverting back to the Roach Ravager meta, which again I would say is a negative thing, if that's kind of where the meta settles in ZVT. And it feels like that's the direction it's going in, but I can't say for certain that that's going to happen. We'll see. It's possible that because of the Bane buff that we had last patch, that even and it's possible that even with the and because of the lava increase rate, the increased spawn rate of lava, it's possible that that more mines are connecting, that Lingbane is becoming less efficient, less effective, but because of the increased rate of lava, that maybe Zerg players can actually sustain that, right? Like maybe you can still sustain those losses, and maybe you can still keep up with the Terran macro wise, just because you're trading more inefficiently, your production is greater, and you can sustain those losses anyway. So it's possible that evens out, right? It's possible that you're losing more Lingbane, you're losing more mutas, but you're also producing more, so it kind of evens out. It's possible that could also be the case in ZVT as well. So again, we're still a couple of days in. We'll see how that settles and how that evens out. It's hard to like say with full confidence as to what's going to happen with ZVT. When it comes to TVP, this now means that mine drops are much more unforgiving. It means that Protoss players have less time to react when it comes to mine drops into the mineral lines. You can definitely argue this is a good thing. I know that there are people pushing for other changes in TVP. There's a lot of argumentation about removing the alert, right? For those who don't remember, it was like 2 years ago, I think around 2 years ago, where they introduced the mechanic or the feature where if a Widowmine drops in your mineral line, you get an alert when it burrows. So even before the lock and even before the shot goes off, Protoss players, they get the alert, so then they can react in time, they can pull away. Because of this, Widowmine drops never get more than one worker kill, or at least they should never get. Like sometimes this happens. Sometimes there's miscontrol, sometimes the Protoss player is inattentive, but for the most part, a Widowmine drop should never kill more than one probe for each Widowmine. That is just that is like what should be happening. So because of that, Widowmine drops have been less effective. They've been dying out when it comes to being a viable opener. This does increase the strength of the mine drop. Is this too much? Of course, this also impacts the other matchups, like against Zerg. It also impacts some mid-game play as well. No, the other big thing that everyone, myself included, was expecting like a year ago during the Storm patch was for the Widowmine to now be burrowed with the Armory. With the Armory providing cloak, I should say, for the Widowmine. I was shocked when that didn't happen during the Storm patch, and we still haven't gotten it, which is kind of crazy. Like, I feel like that's. I know that there was a lot of pushback from lower level players, talking about how difficult it is to deal with invisible mines. But like, I feel I don't know. Like, I feel like that's overblown. Like, I feel like the benefit of having viable like mid-game Widowmine play, surviving fights and impacting the mid-game of Terran, I feel like that's more important than getting detection, which you're already getting anyway. Like, you're already opening up 2-gate robo. Like, that's already that's already standard in TV. You're already getting detection. So and that helps at least when it comes to like defending your bases and defending against Widowmines when it comes to harassment, I should say. Obviously, there's more skill required to keep your observer alive when it comes to fighting out on the map in the center, and that's where you have that counterplay available. But that hasn't been the case for a couple of years now, ever since they removed it. And Terran players still do struggle in the mid game. That's an issue that still has yet to be resolved. And we'll see if that ever happens, right? Like this will help some mid game Terran for sure. But it doesn't help like the efficiency or the longevity of the mines. They're still going to go down, and it still feels like it isn't quite enough. I feel like mid-game TVP still hasn't fully been addressed yet. We'll get into it. Up next for Protoss, we do have, again, the change that's caught me off guard was the force field change. Like, this is straight out of straight out of his patch. Like, it was which caught me off guard. Like, again, like, tweaking numbers here and there is what we expected, but to see a complete change in how the force field works, like, this was surprising to me. Battles no longer instantly destroy force fields. Instead, it destroys 50% of its duration. For those who are unaware, this is a mechanic that has already been showcased in competitive play in the, I believe, the patch clashes, which we've been covering every now and then. So I know the patches, he had two different ideas for the force field. Either its duration gets reduced by biles, or force fields have HP and they become destructible, and instead you can work with it that way. But basically, because of the way the Ravager works, like the strength of the Ravager, the strength of the bile, was too strong to the point where sentry-based all-ins were just less viable, and they just would not really work out too well. The only situation where they worked was if the Zerg player didn't play Ravager and they played Lingbane Hydra. That's where force fields could shine because there were no Ravagers to deal with it. But it's very niche, right? It was very, very niche going to these sentry-heavy compositions. The idea of giving them viability again is a good thing, I think. Like, this increases build variety and builds and just compositions as well for Protoss and PvZ. So I'd say this is a positive aspect of the patch for sure. Up next, we have the Adept's build time increase from 30 to 33. I didn't get to talk about it, but this is the same thing with the Reaper as well. Reaper has increased build time. Adept has increased build time. The rationale for this is that the early Adept and Reaper were getting across the map very, very quickly because the builds had reduced the time that it takes to actually make one, because you get the earlier pylon, earlier gateway, earlier racks, earlier depot. Because of that, Zerg players were being forced to either go pool first or hatch pool instead of hatch gas pool. So we saw a lot more early pool play out of Zerg, just to defend and survive, right? Just to get through that early game and to get into the game itself. And that was a big like controversial thing about the patch, because it's like, it'd be nice if we could just go hatch first and be more economic, instead of being forced to go into these earlier pool builds to survive against the first Reaper and to survive against the first Adept. I believe this is done specifically to allow for that to happen. So now hatch first is more viable than it was pre this change. From my understanding, that is the purpose of this. Up next, we had the High Templar and Dark Templar pre-warp gate build time decreased from 43 to 40 seconds. And of course, the Mothership shields reduced from 350 to 200, and health increased from 350 to 400. So this is an overall decrease of health slash shields of the mothership. Not just that, but because the mothership has reduced shields from 350 to 200, it means that it will be taking hull damage earlier and faster as well. Now, the rationale for this is because if you've been watching StarCraft over the past week, now almost 2 weeks, mothership rushes have been very, very trendy in ZVP, and they've been working. They've been quite strong, actually. They've been very, very strong. We saw that first from Hero. That was in the first tournament of the new patch. Then we saw that from players like Classic, from Max Packs as well. A lot of the other mid-tier Protoss players have also been embracing it. But basically, it's become a little more standard in PvZ now to rush mothership, and this is to help make it a little bit more vulnerable. The issue here, and if you recall, we were trying to explain this at the time during, I think it was Pegasus Cup, but I think it was either Pegasus Cup or Kung Fu Cup. But this doesn't really help. When it comes to the mothership being more vulnerable, this does help when it comes to late game PvZ, when you have corruptors and you can actually engage with the mothership. In that sense, the mothership's more vulnerable, but we're not talking about late game PvZ. Like, we're talking about mothership rushes, which means you're keeping the mothership safe further back behind a gateway composition, and you're using it mainly for its spells, for cloak, for the slow zone as well, to help against lings being aggressive and trying to push forward. Because of that, we saw that even with this change, motherships were not dying. Like, they were still surviving, they were still supporting very, very well. I do think that if the purpose of this, and I say if the purpose of this was supposed to be to nerf mothership rushes, this does not nerf mothership rushes, right? Like, mothership rushes are being used, motherships are being used supportively to rush into. They're not being used like aggressively and to be overly vulnerable. So this isn't really helping with that. Like, I understand what the goal is, but this doesn't achieve that goal, is what I will say. Again, like, this mainly impacts like mothership viability in like the late game, but games aren't getting there anyway. Like, we're not getting to the late game right now in meta PvZ. So I will say that this change does miss the mark here. But yeah, some big changes overall, right? It's a bit of a shorter list of changes, but I would say that they're very impactful nonetheless. And it's a good thing that we've gotten this after a week of the patch going live, and I wouldn't believe that we do have another hotfix on the horizon. I would believe that we're going to be waiting for HomeStory Cup to wrap up. We're going to be getting a bunch of feedback and a bunch of consensus and an idea to the direction of the meta from HomeStory Cup and what's working, what's not working, the issues there as well. Conclusions are going to be formed, feedback is going to be provided, and then we'll be seeing another hotfix as well. When it comes to the current meta of all these matchups, as I mentioned, ZVT is something that I would say has to be monitored when it comes to the viability of lane bane meta. When it comes to TVP mid-game, this is something that still has not been addressed. The Widowmine lock-on change does help Terran in the mid-game a little bit more, but I still don't fully believe that it's going to be enough. When it comes to PvT, like, I would say the Protoss players have been able to adapt against Terran quite nicely, but PvZ is still a big issue. I would say that with this hotfix, it has helped ZVT the most. Like, ZVT is the most competitive now. Before, it was very one-sided. Like, Zerg versus X matchups were very one-sided and very brutal. Zerg versus Terran and Zerg versus Protoss. Now I would say that Zerg versus Terran is in a better place. And Zerg versus Protoss is still struggling. The rationale for this is, of course, the warp gate change. Because of that change, a lot of people have been very vocal about it, but I would say that build variety has decreased. Of course, we spoke about this like when the patch went live. If you remember, this was like a week ago, 2 weeks ago, during the PondCast. We spoke about how the worker change, if the goal of the worker change was to increase build variety and diversity, and if it is not achieving that goal, then we should just scrap it. And at this point, it's not achieving that goal. It is actually hurting, or it's actually working against that goal. Because of the worker change and because of the lava rate increase as well, like Protoss, the idea of going into like Archon drop builds or DT base openers or the build variety has, like, that's no longer viable anymore, right? It's no longer viable anymore. specifically because of the warp gate change, actually less so the worker change, because you have to spend extra resources making warp gates. It means that early warp gate builds have been weakened quite heavily. The reason why you still see, say, Stargate Opener into Glaive Adepts, like that's still viable. The reason for this is because you can do that without warp gates. Like that's a build that works without the robot, without the warp prism. You just build the adepts from back at home. When it comes to builds that require warp gate play, now it's a lot more all in, more so than it used to be. So it's less viable in this as a standard macro game, or as a macro build, I should say. So build variety has decreased in PvZ, to the point where Protoss players now being hyper defensive, like again going for mothership rushes, trying to be a little bit creative in their approach. But I would say that ZVP is still in a place of disarray. I would say that ZVT is in a better place, TVP is in a better place, but ZVP is something that has to be looked at and has to be addressed. And I would hope that, no, I say would hope, and I expect for ZVP to probably be a very common matchup coming into HomeStory Cup. It's difficult because Max Packs won't be there, of course. There's going to be Showtime, there's going to be Skilless, there's going to be a lot of Protoss and Zerg representation, so I'm hoping that we can like showcase and show off and show to Blizzard like the issues that are perceived, that I believe are real when it comes to PvZ, so that can be looked at, that can be addressed, and that can be brought into consideration. But we'll see. That's my big concern. I think I stand by what I said previously. This was last week or last podcast. I would prefer if the warp gate change, if you still left the warp gate mechanic as it is right now, except you just made it free. You didn't require gateways to have to spend resources to turn them into warp gates. That spendage of resources is very, very limiting when it comes to like just build variety in general. The issue though there is that will negatively impact PvT, and that's where I would say that Terran, that's where it goes back to the Widowmine buff there, where Terran needs more help in the mid game, especially if you're alleviating that tax on the gateways. Then Terran needs more help in TVP as well to make up for that in its own way. So there's still a lot of aspects of the game that I would say are not very healthy, that need to be looked at, and I mean we'll see what Blizzard comes up with, or we'll still see what kind of feedback they get. Yeah. I would say that ZVP and TVP are probably going to be the more prominent matchups at HomeStory Cup, but it also kind of depends on the bracket as well. So we'll get into HomeStory Cup soon. But overall, this is a step in a good direction. This is a step in the right direction. The fact that we've gotten a hotfix like this and these changes have been made, but we still have a ways to go, right? We still have. I'm hoping for at least like 2 more hotfix patches. We're probably going to get at least 1, but I'm hoping for a little bit more than that, because the patch itself is still undercooked. Like the patch itself, it still needs work. It still needs to be looked at. Still needs to be resolved. And I'm hoping that they're willing to take further steps here. Hoping for. Meanwhile, big shout out to Luis GGG. Papi ga. Luis GGG. Thank you so much for the raid. Thank you so much. Hope you had a good stream. Hope you had a good ladder session. Bienvenidos. Up next, we do have the Blizzard Cup. The Blizzard Classic Cup has been announced. I mean, we already knew it was happening from quite some time ago, but now we actually have confirmation as to some of the matches. From my understanding, I think there's still more matches that have yet to be revealed. I think that's what one of the comments alluded to, but we have now revealed a bunch of the legacy matches here already. The first one is going to be Boxer versus Nara in StarCraft Remastered. Interesting one. I mean, I guess at the end of the day, like, these are meant to be show matches. Boxer, he pops up like every year to play in show matches. he's decently informed because of that, I guess. But if you remember, for StarCraft Remastered, they brought Boxer on and Yellow on as well. And I feel like every other year, like, Boxer shows up for like another show match, whether it's in Korea, whether it's in at BlizzCon. So we're going to be seeing Boxer again up against Nara, not yellow, not yellow, in Brood War in StarCraft Remastered, so great to see. Likewise, for the StarCraft 2 Legacy match, we do have MC versus Idra. This caught a lot of people off guard, but now this does put into context MC's tweet. Do you remember MC a week ago? I want to say it was like a week ago. MC made a post on Twitter, saying, he said something like, "Hey guys, like, are you ready for a comeback?" or something. Like he made a post like a week ago, and everyone got excited. I was like, "Yo, what does this mean?" Sounds like we now know what it means, right? Like, I guess he was alluding to this. So MC versus Idra is going to be the Legacy show match. This is a bit of an odd one, just because the last time we saw Idra compete was actually in StarCraft Remastered. Remember, it was in the oh god, it was in the like the Christmas like invitational. It was the think of like HomeStory Cup, but for NA. It was like In Control, Day 9, Tasteless, Artosis. They all got together, I think, in the Americas, and they had like a big like fun LAN event. This was like a couple of years. This was like maybe 6 years ago.
I was gonna say a couple of years. That was like a decade ago, I think.
No, I think it was like 2019. I think it was like 2019. It was like pre-COVID, like 2019-ish. But if you remember, they had like a fun event there that was showcasing, of course, StarCraft Remastered, and Idra went there. If you remember, that was the last time we saw Idra. He was competing in StarCraft Remastered. I think he did well. We got to catch up with him. So it was kind of weird that the last time we saw him was competing in StarCraft Remastered, but now we're going to see him competing in StarCraft 2. Of course, there are definitely some concerns that it's going to be a one-sided show match. It probably will be, to be honest. It's probably going to be like a 3-0 in favor of MC, just because MC has been more active recently. Even more so because if you remember, MC actually, hey, it's the same with MC. MC, he was last year, right? He was competing in ASL, like he was in Brood War, like he was competing playing. He started playing Brood War around the same time that True started playing. Remember how True also switched over and he was doing really well? Like MC was also competing at around that time as well. In Brood War. I think that was last year, right? Like, if I recall correctly. True, MC, and I want to say there was another like XSC2 player that was also like popping up then as well. So MC is very much so in better form, and best of luck to Idra. I hope that they make it an entertaining match. Best of luck is what I will say. Up next, they also announced some of the other legacy matches for Heroes. For Heroes, it's going to be Genji versus Dignitas, and for Warcraft 3, it's going to be Todd versus Ted. The meme potential is there, baby. Let's go.
See, I need someone who actually followed Warcraft 3 to tell me if this is real or if they picked them for the names. I need to know like if this was actually a thing.
I don't know if there's a rivalry between them or not. Like, I don't know. I couldn't tell you. But best of luck. There's going to be the Overwatch World Cup is going to be at BlizzCon, of course, and there's going to be a Hearthstone event, a Hearthstone Invitational. Sorry, not Invitational. Hearthstone event as well. It looks like an 8-player tournament. So there's going to be quite a bit. And I want to say there was a post. There was a post made that alluded to the fact that there's maybe going to be more StarCraft. Obviously, we know that the RSL finals are going to be at BlizzCon, but I think there was like another post that alluded to maybe more that is yet to be revealed. Yeah, So more to come in the Classic Cup. These legacy matches are just a taste of what's in store with the Blizzard Classic Cup. We'll also be sharing more details on the entertainment matches as we get closer to the show, so stay tuned. Yeah. So it says here, prior to BlizzCon, Tasteless and Artosis will draft the announced players to their respective teams, setting the stage for the Blizzard Classic Cup competition. Interesting. So if you remember, this is why I wanted a bigger roster, because it would make sense to draft. It's going to be kind of weird if they announce all these legacy matches and it's just 1v1s and they just like pick between the two. It's like, what? Like, what? Like, it doesn't sound like a draft if there's only 2 options and there's 2 people picking, right? Like, that's not much of a draft, I feel.
So yeah, the draft is you can get either the Brood War players on your roster or the StarCraft 2 players on your roster.
Well, like it'll be basically whoever picks first picks, like, as in, so it's Boxer versus Nara. So then they get to pick either Boxer or Nara. Then the other
if they go to buy matches with the other.
Yeah, and then they go to like MC versus Idra, and then maybe they just take turns and they just pick between the two. Like, again, it's just not much of a draft at all if it's only 2 options. So that's why I was hoping that it'd be a bigger roster of players for something more dynamic and for a more interesting draft. But yeah, hopefully it's not just 2 options, because that's not a draft. Yeah. So we'll see. We'll see what happens with the events. Still, of course, yet to be confirmed the details of the event itself. And, of course, RSL finals will also be at BlizzCon, so look forward to it. It's going to be a lot of fun regardless. Gonna be a lot of fun. Yo, meanwhile, big shout out to Codebar. Thanks so much for the raid of 122. Hope you had a great stream. Hope you had a great ladder session. Hope you had a great time. Welcome one and all to the PondCast, where we talk all things StarCraft. I mean, we're just about to wrap up with most of the StarCraft news before getting into tournament results, but thank you nonetheless. We're just going over some of the Blizzard Classic Cup announcements. Up next is going to be the SC Evo mod. There's been quite a lot of patches being released here, bearing in mind as well that I believe they're still sticking with the traditional worker counts of 12. Yeah, as we can see here at the very top of SC Evo update number 1.20. The first line here: after careful consideration, the SC Evo Complete multiplayer dev team has decided not to follow the transition from 12 to 8, nor implement any of the balance or quality of life or quality of life changes as well. Oh. If you remember, I think initially they were going to do the quality of life changes at least, but looks like they won't be doing that either. Okay. So looks like they are going to be going through.
It does say aside from purely cosmetic audiovisual bug fixes. So they
yeah. Well, quality of life changes would be the if you recall, would be the auto attack on certain units. So like the Infestor auto attack. It'd also be the auto load feature. If you remember, the Medevac, the Overlord, and the War Prism now have auto load available, so they're probably not going to do that either. So yeah, so it looks like they're going to be this is going to be a little bit awkward. I do think that if they make a stand here and if they do go through with this, it's probably going to alienate people from playing the mod. If you remember, this is one of the reasons why HomeStory Cup is playing on the live version of the game, is because it's difficult to practice on a version of the game that has a different worker count. So the idea of playing on an old version isn't really viable for players. So the idea of having a different worker count start in SC Evo is going to be like another barrier to entry to actually play StarCraft Evolution. We'll see how it impacts like player performance and signups for something like this. Their statement here: we do not believe that the patch accomplishes the stated goal of increasing overall strategic diversity. I mean, we already know this. We also do not believe the 8 worker start is feasible. This is, I do think this is a stronger statement just for their mod specifically. If you remember, they spoke about this previously, how they tested low worker counts to begin with for their mod, and they did their own testing and their own findings, and they found that it just wouldn't really be viable for StarCraft Evolution. Or it would require a lot of work to have the brutal races be compensated for not having macro mechanics, just because the growth of the SC2 races with the Mule, with Chrono Boost, and with Injex is just too great. So just at scale. Coming into the mod itself, we do have some new models. Let's go. Okay, so we do have a new hatchery model. We have a new lair model as well. Interesting. Okay. I'll be honest, I like the old lair model. I think the hatchery is I think the hatchery is okay, maybe. I think. No, I don't know.
So in my opinion, the new hatchery is better. Like, just it feels more accurate to what I remember from Brood War, so I will agree with that. I think the model is a little small. Like, I think it should be bigger, but the general like shape of it seems good. For the lay, I am not convinced.
Yeah, there's something about the opening at the top. Like, what is it about the lair? Like, it's a little bit more clunky. It's.
I feel like it feels a bit too smooth. Like, the model doesn't feel as fleshy. Like, maybe with animation it's a bit better, but like, yeah, I feel like it's missing some detail, or maybe some lighting or something.
I agree. Like, like as you said, like it feels like it's lower detailed than the other version. It's a little bit more simplified. It's obviously there are certain aspects of it that are more exaggerated, like the opening up top as well. But even the spikes are a little bit more exaggerated, which isn't a bad thing. But because they're lower res, like it makes it stand out and makes it look a little bit weird. Referring to like the bigger spikes, referring to the opening and the up top as well. So I'm on the fence. If not, I prefer the older model for the lair.
For lair specifically, yeah.
Yeah, for lair specifically. For hive.
I see no difference for hive.
You see no different? What are you talking about?
I think it just doesn't work for me. I cannot see the old version.
No, I think okay. I prefer the older version for the hive as well. The newer version is a little bit more stout. It's a little bit more thick. It's a little bit more chunky. Maybe it's because of the thorns. Like the thorns also blend in a little bit more with the model, which I think is a negative thing. I think the cool thing about the hive is that the thorns were a new part of the model, but they also stand out more because of their features and because of their coloring. Yeah, so I'm not too fond of. I do like the queen though. I do like the new queen. So I'm fond of the new queen. I'm fond of the new hatchery. The lair and hive less so, but interesting. But what I will say though is that from my understanding, I believe that you can pick and choose, right?
That I do not
know. I know that if you remember, they were playing around with the idea of being able to pick and choose models in StarCraft Evolution, but I don't know if we can pick and choose these models. I would hope so. I'd hope we'd be able to pick the older models. But yeah, it's interesting. Some interesting artistic choices made here. I like the new queen though. It's good. Zero differences. Yeah. I think Kuro's site might be. I don't know if you have to like refresh to show the hive properly and to show the queen.
Okay, let me try refreshing. Let's see if it works. Because the other two work, but the hive and the queen, whatever the reason, doesn't. Okay, let's try again. Hive.
I'll watch on stream to see.
Now it works.
There you go. See, you can see that how the hive is more stout and the color grading is very different.
I'll be honest, I don't remember if I've ever seen this original hive model.
Okay.
I think the people who use this skin never go hive. Because I cannot remember this in the game. What about the queen?
Well, I remember it, especially in the original Brood War as well. So yeah, I'm not too fond with like the color changes made to the hive. The queen I like. The queen is like a little bit less glossy, and I feel like the color tone to the queen change is more Brood War, if that makes sense. I think it fits more. Is the queen working for you?
It is, and it is less shiny. It used to be more shiny.
Yeah.
Now it's less shiny. The model is pretty much the same. The top changed a bit. The head changed a little bit.
Yeah, the head changed. The head changed. Different color palettes. Less glossy. I do think that it accomplishes a more Brood War vibe. Yeah. So some interesting new models. Again, I don't know if they let you pick and choose between them, but we'll see. Up next, we do have our general changes being made. Oh, okay. Concussive weapon damage ratio versus shields has been increased. Explosive weapon as well. Just flat concussive weapon and explosive versus shields. Okay. At the start of the 1.20 PTR cycle, we nerfed the Hydra attack period to discourage safely massing it against SCHistorian and raised the concussive and explosive weapon damage ratio versus shields at the same time to keep the unit strong against SC2 Protoss. Partway through the cycle, playtesting showed that the attack period nerf needed to go further, and so we doubled down on it. Now, as we move to live, we are increasing the shield's damage ratio again to compensate. The original rationale for decreasing the damage ratios versus shields from their Brood War value was the concerning effectiveness of units with these weapons against SG Protoss, particularly the Vulture and Hydra. This was compounded by the Hydra's historically shorter attack period. Okay, cool. Both these conditions will change. They're reverting it. Okay. I see. Up next, some turn changes. Oh, okay. Oh, this is new. I don't think they've done this before, where they just straight up say that they just reverted it to what it once was. I think previously, like, they would just change it and then they let you know in notes that this was a reversion. But now there's like a reverted tag. So the SCV decreased attack period has been reverted. Barracks once again has been decreased build costs from 150 to 125. Likewise, build time as well has also been decreased. We've been playing around a lot when it comes to the racks, the marine, the medic, and a bunch of these build times and costs. Factory decreased build costs once again, and increased build time instead for the factory. We do see some change to the add-ons. Increased build costs from 50-25 to 50-50. Starport decreased build time. Build costs from 150, 100 to 125 and 175. And Control Tower, we increase the build cost as well. Based on supply counts, Brood War Terran in the other game, even adjusting for supply density in certain units, it has become evident lately that Brood War Terran production throughput is simply too low. I think this was spoken about previously. I think some of this we're saying again for the next time, because we already saw some of these changes in the PTR, and this is the live version. So we're just seeing some of this repeated from PTR to now the live patch. I felt like I was like having deja vu going through some of these changes. I was like, I think I've seen this before. Especially parenting games where Terran is defending against 200 to 100 roach timings. The changes to racks, factory, starport, machine shop, and control tower build costs bring them into alignment with the SC2 production structures. Yeah. So this was tested in the PTR. The Marine increased build time. So they did all these changes to the production, of course, and then we do see some changes now to the units themselves. I guess to compensate. Increased build time of the Marine from 16.1 to 17.9. Increased build time for the Medic. Increased build time for the Firebat. Decreased stack period for the Firebat. Increased build time for both the Goliath and Vulture as well, and likewise decreased attack periods. Production cost aligns. We are slowing down the production of basic Terran units across the board, including the Marine, Medic, Firebat, Vulture, Goliath, and Wraith. Build times these units requiring a machine shop or control tower are unaffected. Firebats, Vulture, and Goliath have received attack period reversions to core. This is like to the base, like Brood War values. Cool. Wraith, increased stacking. Yeah, we've already gone through this. But increased build time for the Wraith from 27.1 to 30. Stacking is now toggleable. This is one of the big changes that's happening in StarCraft Evolution. I want to say this is going to be affecting the Wraith and the Muta, but it's funny how they're like, oh, we're not going to have these quality of life changes that are happening in SC2, but in StarCraft Evolution, they're having their own quality of life changes. For those that are curious, now you can select a bunch of Wraiths and you can toggle whether they stack or not. But this is, I mean, they're going to get into the rationale of it, but the rationale is that in Brood War, you had to take extra, like, units they did naturally, like, spread out more, and you had to work hard to actually have them stack. If you remember, you had to hotkey, like, mutas with an Overlord, for example, to try to force them to stack. Whereas in SC2, they stack more naturally. It's easier to stack to the point where sometimes you don't want them to, and then they just naturally stack, and for Brood War units, like, it hurts them more than helps at times. So to help with that, they've got stacking mode and stacking and spread mode. You can spread, you can stack. This is here. We implemented a mechanic allowing the Wraith and Mutalisk to... Hold on. Stacking is now a toggle on and off with a manual ability instead of automatically on movement. There you go. Mechanic allowing the Wraith and Mutalisk to shrink the separation radii automatically when moving, allowing them to move in tight formations and enabling Brood War style stacking controls. Players immediately notice that the stacking enabled them to extract more value from Wraiths and Mutalisks. However, since the stacking occurs automatically on movement and cannot be disabled, and since stacked air units clump so densely, players cannot easily reactivate split specific units out of the formation. During the PTR cycle, they tried to solve this issue. Give players more control. Since then, many viewers have expressed that they believe this toggle is contrived and out of place in StarCraft. I mean, I can understand that sentiment just because it is taking away a bunch of micro. I mean, again, as you mentioned, like this is a big quality of life change, which is kind of funny that they're speaking up about some of it in SE2, but they're adding their own here, especially for standard melee adjacent projects like SE Evo Complete. While we recognize that this toggle is slightly unusual, we think that allowing stacking mode to be toggled is a more accurate reflection of the fact that air units in Brood War could also be stacked and unstacked at will. Implementing the stacking behavior exactly as it was in Brood War, where it only activates when a non-Wraith/Mutalisk unit is included in the control group, while technically possible, would require many trigger-based checks that would harm game performance. StarCraft II and Evo Complete are also no strangers to importing brutal mechanics in a form that is easy to use, such as the previously automatic stacking, hotfire lurkers, work early paths, etc. Sure. Yeah, I mean, the rationale that they're giving here is interesting. I mean, it at the end of the day, it is just a quality of life change here that does assist, that does help, and the reality is that there are some moments in the game where this is necessary, right? Just for balance purposes, or even accessibility as well, right? To make this a little bit easier, to allow it to be more accessible, to help a certain race that is maybe struggling when it comes to this sort of thing. So yeah. But I can understand that maybe there are some viewers of this that are even more strongly opposed to it than an SE2, just because I feel like StarCraft Evolution probably brings together like a more hardcore crowd. Like it's very niche, right? It's very niche. You're trying to pull and you're trying to cater towards a brutal audience. And the brutal audience is like a lot more hardcore and a lot more manual in a lot of aspects. So the idea of bringing this in can turn them off a little bit. So I can see a world where this is getting stronger pushback from that audience, just because this goes against like their game, right? It goes against like a little bit more of their ideology in regards to StarCraft. But they're going through with it. Spider-Mine decreased HP. Again, we saw this previously. It can still be one-shot by Immortals, but now returning to a core value. Increased build cost here of the dropship. Increased movement acceleration. We have a decreased HP on the Ghost. Irradiate damage no longer stacks. This is pretty huge. I'll be honest, I didn't know that it did. I didn't know that it did. But a pretty big change to the Science Vessel is that Irradiate now no longer stacks, similar to, say, Parasitic Bomb in StarCraft II. The Science Vessel's power curve suffers from two extremes. Early on, even after Irradiate research is complete, the Science Vessel seems rather impotent against StarCraft II Zerg. Many are required to reach the critical mass of Irradiate cost needed to hold off late game Zerg armies. After amassing enough Science Vessels alongside a maxed out mech army, however, the Terran player quickly becomes nearly impossible to break. So apparently, I mean, it's weird that it took this long for this to become apparent. But basically, Science Vessels, they scale too well when massed up in the late game. So this is to help with that. Up next, we have our Zerg changes. Refer to the build time of the spawning pool. Increase more time of the sunken colony. The rationale for this is that it was becoming a little bit too easy to defend against early game aggression with early colonies. So they're trying to nerf the colony to force early units out of Zerg players to allow for some more build diversity in early game kind of XVZ matchups. So change to the colony, and likewise change to the Hydra as well. Increase attack period and decrease muscular augments. The reasoning for this is because heavy Hydra play was just a little bit too common. It was just a little bit too common to just go into heavy Hydra play and to play from there. They want to try to incentivize maybe more Muta play, going Ling into Muta or having another style. So they tried to pull back on that. Increase damage on the Lurker. The Lurker doesn't scale as well as the SC2 Lurker because of lack of upgrades, but here they're increasing that, giving it a little bit more strength. And there's that same stacking ability added to the Mutalisk here as well. Same rationale. Scourge, decreased movement speed. The rationale for this was, again, just to allow for some more micro against the Scourge, especially in ZVZ, for example. Like the Scourge can be very, what's the word I'm looking for? Oppressive. It It can be very, very oppressive. Scourge, the Banelings of the sky. So this is to help some micro against Scourge. Guardian and Infested Terran changes. I remember the Infested Terran changes were a little bit weird to us just because they're so rare. But I think the patch comments spoke on that as well. It's like, we rarely see this, but we did want to wind it back a little bit. Guardian increased damage from 20 to 25 and decreased attack range from 11 to 10. Allowing for some more counterplay against the Guardian, reducing his range. Ultralisk increase attack period. Then we have a bunch of reverted gate with Protoss changes. Oh my god. There are reverted changes on the Gateway, reverted changes on the Dragoon, reverted changes on the High Templar, and the Doctor. Oh my god, all the reverted. Oh my god. Okay. They increased the Zealot HP from 100 to 110. They decreased the shields from 60 to 50. Remember, this is an overall nerf, just because shields regenerate, HP does not. So now there are less shields, so now there's going to be more HP damage to the Zealot. Decreased leg enhancements research time from 71.4 to 64.3, making charge more accessible here. I think this is also to just increase build diversity. I know that for a long time, Robo heavy play was very common, and now that's switched to like Stargate heavy play. They want to allow for Zealot and charge base openers to be a little bit more viable. In the PTR, we attempted to rework gateways to be more cheaper, equalizing unit production throughputs on a supply basis with the other races. However, since gateways only have one production speed throughout the entire game, unlike their SC2 counterparts, any production throughput buffs have tremendous impact on early game balance. Hey, it looks like this change was actually quite similar to the Larva change, where like they increased like Protoss production across the board. It proved to be too strong, and they just reverted it. Look at the Larva changes. The adjustments we made to counteract this were clearly insufficient, and it became clear to us that we simply cannot make Zealots and Dragoons produce any faster. An attempt to rebalance the Dragoon around its faster core attack period relative to the live version failed for similar reasons. Therefore, we are reverting the Dragoon attack period buff and build cost time changes for the Gateway and all units produced from it. Cool. Like enhancements, research time has been decreased, allowing for Zealots to come online in the mid-game slightly sooner against SC2 Zerg and Protoss. Cool. And Zealot and Dragoon Vitals have been reworked to survive the use of Novas in PvP. Archon decreased attack period, and Dark Archon buffs as well. Gateway play still seems undertuned. If you recall, like they're trying to incentivize more gateway heavy play from Protoss, so this is a part of that. And this is the same rationale that we saw in the PTR as well for the Dark Archon, which is that Dark Archons are just very, very niche, so they just want to see more play here. And this might be too much of a buff, where they're increasing the feedback range, they're decreasing the cost for mind control and to cast mind control as well, but this is all just to try to incentivize Dark Archon play, which I don't think is a bad thing. Then we have the change here to the Sheldon the Reaver. They reverted the stun changes, which I think is good. Like that hurt the Reaver drop play quite heavily. So they buff the shuttle. They increase HP on the Reaver. They decrease the shields. So once again, a bit of a nerf. Then they decrease the attack range. And movement speed as well. It was already slow. Oh my god. Says here, lately Shuttle Reaver play has all but disappeared in the metagame, replaced by Gateway and Stargate-centric compositions, so they're trying to bring it back. Trying to bring back Reaver drops. And we have more scout changes. But yeah, when it comes to these changes, we're kind of glossing over some of it. We've already discussed a bunch of this during the PTR. Of the patch, so there wasn't really much to go back over here. Like, it's all stuff that we've read before. Interesting that they reverted some of the changes for sure, but it's hard for us to have a strong opinion on this too much, just because we haven't been casting too much SC Evo. I mean, there hasn't been much SC Evo going on. Of course, that will change as we get into Crank Gathers. We're going to be casting that on a regular basis, and we're going to be getting back into the playoffs of the Ladder Invitational and SCL Masters as well, so we'll be getting back into StarCraft Evolution in a bigger way this month. Starting tomorrow, actually. Starting tomorrow with Crank Gathers. So I look forward to it. We'll be delving further into it. I believe Crank Gathers will be playing on this patch. So they'll be playing into each other.
Well, it will be playing on the next patch that you are about to read right after this.
Okay, let's go. Up next is patch notes 1.20.1. This was how long after? So this was July the 1st. 1.20 was June 27th. Okay, this was a couple of days later. Just before Crank gathers. Just before. Oh, they reverted. They reverted the concuss. God damn it! They're just reverting everything. They reverted the concussive damage changes. Interesting. It says here between patches 1.19.1 and 1.20, we increased the concussive and explosive damage ratio from shields from 75 to 100%. Well, we expected this change to have significant implications across all three races, especially with Brood War Terran versus Protoss. Preliminary playtesting suggests that this impact is greater than we were willing to accept. That we are willing to accept in the context of mech play. To ensure that StarCraft II Protoss has enough options to deal with Brood War Terran, we are reducing the damage ratio from 100 to 87.5. So they reverted the changes. Let's go. Glad we went over that previously. Zero changes. Decreased attack period from the Hydra from 0.75 to 0.72. Looks like this is to compensate for the concussive changes. The Hydra, this is still weaker than the 1.19 Hydra. Templar increased build time from 25 to 27. Until now, we've wanted to buff Zeld and Dragoon build times to match the 3-point production for other races. However, we cannot do this without setting the balance. We spoke about this earlier. It's become apparent that we underestimated the viability of Dark Templar against SC2 Terran. The Brood War Protoss versus Terran matchup is already known for the initiative. Protoss has to choose either the role, the attacker, or the defender. In the early game, and considering the viable scanning opportunities and openers available to Terran, we think that the threat of the Dark Templar is one that could stand to be slightly reduced. As such, we are increasing build time of the Dark Templar. Okay. Dark Archon, they pull it back a little bit, decrease mine cast range from 10 to 9. Okay. If you recall, they made this more accessible last patch. This patch, they're pulling, it's still very accessible, but they're pulling back the strength of mind control a little bit. Cool. I think it's more important to ensure that opponents have ample opportunity to prevent it from being cast against them, whether through units with longer range, through EMP, or feedback, therefore reducing the cast range. Cool. Cool. So again, these were the changes made before Crank gathers.
Let's not forget the very important change that we decreased the Brood War Zerg egg radius.
Lovely. That's important. It was important. It's important for sure. Apparently, it was huge. 0.5 to 0.125. That's a huge change. That was a thick egg. It's crazy.
If you remember what the eggs in Brood War looked like, they were thick eggs.
They were pretty thick. True. We want core value eggs back.
Eggs patch reverted to align with the core value.
True. Hi. But with that, again, when it comes to StarCraft Evolution, we've been staying a little bit away from StarCraft Evolution these past couple of months, but we should be going headfirst into it with Crank Gatherers coming into July. So there should be a little more SCEvo content on this channel, specifically in July, and coming into August as well with the GSL Code S. Sorry, with the Code S SCEvo tournament that's on the horizon as well. We'll get there. That'll be post HomeStory Cup, of course, in July. Meanwhile, when it comes, and that does wrap up all of our news here for the week. Up next, we do have tournament results as well. Maestros of the game did wrap up over the weekend. Bearing in mind that this event was not played on the live version of the game, this was played on a mod that was featuring the previous iteration of the game instead. This is due to the fact that the tournament itself was played, the majority of it was played on the previous patch, so they did make a mod to play on that previous patch as well. Bear that in mind. So there's a very different kind of balance at play here. When it comes to the playoffs themselves, I believe we had already covered the playoffs. We did. The offline event was the upper bracket finals, moving forward into the lower bracket semis. Yeah, okay. So we did kick things off with Serral versus Maru. Serral did take down Maru 4-0. Strong showing here out of Serral. Again, best player in the world. Does take Maru down. Does advance on to the grand finals. Scrolling down to the lower bracket finals, we had Hero. Hero took down Classic 4-0. That was a strong result, by the way. Classic and Hero, they often do go back and forth. I will say that Classic has been playing less StarCraft as of late in the new patch as well. Looks like he's been taking a bit of a break, a bit of a step back. I'm hoping that it might not be he's like de-incentivized or he's demotivated to compete just because of the patch and how chaotic everything has been, but Classic has been taking a step away for sure. And here we have Hero taking him down 4-0. Then Hero takes down Maru 4-1. A strong showing here by Hero. This also goes against the idea. I know like there were a lot of people, there were a lot of like Maru fans who were upset that Maru got knocked out in the semifinals of GSL. They wanted a more competitive Maru versus Hero finals in GSL. And I remember pushing back against that, being like, no, like it doesn't matter who was going to be in the finals. Like Hero was going to win. And Hero takes down Maru 4-1. So strong showing here by Hero. Again, Hero for quite some time now is the best player in Korea. Straight up, better than Maru, better than Solar, SHIN, Classic. Like he is the best in Korea, the best pro in the world even as well. Does take down Maru 4-1, and then we had our controversial finals. Hero had a strong showing versus Cyril, taking him down 4-1 in the first best of 7. Strong showing, very impressive play there by Hero. And for those that maybe are unaware, after winning that series, Hero he got a little bit ahead of himself and he lifted the trophy. Was very excited, was very amped up, was very hyped, and unfortunately Hero didn't realize that there was another series, that there was a revive match. So it looks like Hero, he was either unaware of the format or he just forgot about it. He was maybe lost in the moment itself, just because it is intense and hyped to defeat Cyril in a best of 7. So it did lead into a very heartbreaking moment where it was like, oh, like Hero celebrated a little bit too early there, a little bit too early. Had to set the trophy back down, and they went into a revive best of 3 instead. And that is where Cyril did defeat Hero 2-0 in the reset match. And in the end, even though technically Hero did take more maps off of Cyril, Cyril won the tournament 2-0 over Hero to become the Maestros of the game #2 champion. So GG well played here to Cyril. My condolences to Hero, because again, Hero did technically win more games over Cyril, and Hero did put on a really strong performance. And you can even argue that after maybe that's premature celebration, that like Hero, I mean, that's obviously it's a very embarrassing moment, but like maybe like mentally as well, like when you win a series like that, like you're like all your emotions suddenly like are let out, and then you have to like kind of reset yourself and like lock back into a series. And yeah, I'm sure that also had its own impact on Hero when it came to the revive match. Again, I know this sparked a bunch of conversations online about this format. It's one or the other. It's either Cyril has an extra life because he came in from the upper bracket, or he starts with a 1-0 advantage in the finals. For our tournaments, we always go like 1-0 advantage. Like it always feels weird having a reset match. Like it doesn't feel too good. Here they decide to have the reset match. I believe they have that in Monday Night Weeklies as well. I think they also have reset matches.
They do, at least most of the time. I would say personally, I don't like reset matches just because they're a more confusing format, if anything.
Yeah.
So
it can be more confusing, and it can also take away excitement for the series as well, because it's like, oh, like Hero won, but like he didn't really win. Like he has to play more. Like it's like it takes away some of the excitement of the series and the matches
at that point, just make it a longer best of, right?
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, I would imagine that moving forward, Comeback TV, especially because of the negative reaction from the community from this finals, they most likely will rethink their finals and either just have a 1-point advantage or just not have a reset match. I know the players have been very outspoken about it as well.
Yeah, I would say something that I've seen in the discussion about the format was people saying that like, oh, so all these players get a second life, but the person in the finals doesn't get a second life if there's no reset match. But I would say it probably balances out the fact that like they have to play less matches because they're in the upper bracket. I don't know. I mean,
that is an advantage that they have to play less matches, but that's why like the 1-point advantage is at least there, right, to help, and that's something that is something that's done quite often to compensate the player. So yeah. It was a little bit heartbreaking, a bit of a shame, but congratulations to Cyril for winning the series. Shout out to Hero, as he did prove himself to be one of the best players in the world, or at least again the best Protoss, and up there with Cyril and up there with Clem and Maru and all the others.
I would say I did watch the clip of that happening, and even Hero himself was kind of like laughing at himself, like it was kind of stupid. So at least what I'm saying, at least he didn't look heartbroken, okay? Because I was afraid that it's gonna actually like destroy his man. No, he's fine. Like he knows it was embarrassing, but he's fine.
Feels bad, man. GG. GG well played. Congratulations, Star, for claiming the series and for winning Maestros of the game number 2. Again, big shout out to Comeback TV and the French community for crowdfunding and for bringing this all together and for allowing the event to occur. Again, it did occur at a bit of an awkward time just because of the release of the patch and the PTR and everything that was going on, so it was a little bit awkward there. But this is also where I should bring up as well. There were some people that are a little bit less familiar that were asking or even pushing back against certain things that we were saying during some of the casts. If you remember, for the Sparkling Tuna Cup tournament and even for GSLCK, we tried to emphasize the idea that Hero had very limited, if not no, experience in the PTR. A lot of people were being like, well, what do you mean he doesn't? Like, he's a pro player. Shouldn't he like be on this all the time? Specifically for Hero, no. He was very vocal about the idea that he was not playing the PTR at all because of this. He was preparing for Maestros, right? Like, he was preparing for this tournament, he was preparing for these matches. That's why he did not touch the PTR. That's why he barely laddered on the live version of the game as well in preparation for Maestros, and it paid off. Like, may not have won, but he was dominant over Maru, dominant over Classic, and even dominant over Serral in their first series as well. So there was like in the end, that did bear fruit, right? Like, Hero had a really strong showing, had a really strong performance. You could argue even stronger than Serral here. And this is why, like, he wasn't really playing or practicing the PTR due to this event on the horizon. So GG well played, as Hero does claim it. Well, sorry, as Serral does claim it, and Hero comes in second place. GG. GG well played. That leads into the other big event of the week. That was Douyu Cup. And Douyu Cup also was a 4-day event. Was very long, very intense, 9-hour cast days. It was brutal, but again, it was a $20,000 offline event over in China, and it was a big Legends event featuring players, retired and semi-retired players from, you know, the history of StarCraft, featuring players that haven't played the game in like 6+ years. It was crazy seeing players like Deer, players like Trap, who's a more recent retiree, TY, Innovation, Fantasy as well, Sue, Impact, Scarlet, who's the more active player, and a bunch of other players as well. So again, a very exciting, very hyped tournament here. It did lead into a lot of fun games and fun matches. Do recommend it. Again, it was a 4-day tournament, very long cast days. We had, of course, our initial group stage into playoffs as well. In the group stage, we had Sue and TY. They came out in first and second place. For every single one of these matches and for all these players, of course, everyone was curious as to the form of these players, right? How much practice were they putting in? How in shape are they? Bearing in mind this was played on the live version of the game, there was again some sentiment in the chats. Some people that were like, "Oh, it's you know, it's such a shame that they had to play on the new version and they had, you know, so little time to prepare," or something like that. Bearing in mind that when this was first announced, it was going to be on the PTR. From the beginning, all these players were going to play this event on the PTR, on these new changes, on the worker changes, on all the changes. Then the patch happened to go live so that they were able to play live instead on the live version of the game. But from the beginning, it was always going to be a PTR tournament. So it's important to bear that in mind if you think in that way. It's like, no, it was always going to be on the PTR, at least on the PTR. Here, this was on the live version to test how on those new changes, and of course, all these players are practicing on the PTR in preparation for this event as well. So Sue and TY come out in first and second place. Fantasy Coffee looked good, but again was brought down. Fantasy was looking very shaky in his play. Again, he has not played SC2 in quite a number of years, so he was kind of like the most out of shape. Group B, we had Neeb, Cyan, Impact, and Maxed. Neeb and Cyan, they do make it through in first and second place. Impact looked interesting. He looked relatively in form, but he was kind of playing the same every game. I mean, it was pure ZVPs, but like it was like the same kind of all in, like game after game after game. It was very samey. It was like, okay. It was like it felt like he had like one or two builds that he had like refined, and that's all he had, sort of thing. So he was very rigid in his play, and as a result, players are able to kind of figure him out and shut him down.
But like, you say what he looked like, but what did he look like?
True, yo. So unfortunately he never took his shirt off. Unfortunately, I know. Like I feel like that's what the people wanted, papi. Aye. But you could see that he's still very much so informed. Like you could the biceps, papi. That's the impact.
They bring the metal keyboard.
They did bring them in. Otherwise the keyboard would break under the strength of his fingers. It was crazy. It was crazy. But it was great to see Impact once again. Again, big fan of Impact, as of course we are big Axiom fans, and Impact was on Axiom back in the day. So big fans of Impact. Great to see him again after so long. Did go down here, but again, he was able to put on a showing and was able to make a show out of it overall. So GG well played. Let's listen to Group C. Group C was Innovation, Scarlet, Kellizer, and Deer. This was the group of death, in my opinion. Like, this was the closest group here. A lot of intensity amongst all these players. Scarlet versus Innovation, their winners match series was honestly one of the best series of the tournament. Straight up, like here in the group stage was a very, very good series. I do highly recommend it. It was the best series of the group stage, at least, and it was even better than some of the playoff matches as well. Very intense back and forth. Ended on washout. I'm still thinking about washout as well, where it ended with Scarlet gaining map control, Scarlet getting ahead. Then Innovation went for a 3-base 8 racks all in, and Scarlet was caught off guard. Scarlet, as the all-in was happening, Scarlet went for a counterattack, lost all her Zerglings, needed more time to rebuild, and had no time as Innovation just broke on through. It was very intense back and forth. Do recommend it. It was great to see Innovation back in form, competing once again. The other big highlight of Group C was Kellizer. Diego, he was having fun with the crowd. He was very much so a showman. I think even Kellizer made a post on socials, right? Like, he said like the crowd was amazing, and he had more fun than he has in a long time since 2017.
He was actually performing for the crowd. Like, for those who didn't see, like, he would like go on stage and like he wouldn't just like wave. He would just make poses for the crowd. Like, he was just like, up to them. It was fun.
He'd them up to get him hyped, to get him excited and stuff. Like, Diego, he was enjoying himself. It was great to see.
I don't know if I've ever seen him like this on stage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. So it was definitely a lot of fun, and definitely one of the other highlight moments of the tournaments. Likewise, we then had Oliveira, Jeshi, Trap, and XY. I feel bad for Gemini because Gemini showed up. He showed up for his boy, of course. He was there for Trap. He was in the crowd and in the Twitch chat as well, ready for his boy. And Trap, he did okay for himself. He was able to have a series versus Oliveira, but he was the first player to be knocked out of the tournament. He did not make it through the group stage, I should say, at a Group D. So Trap didn't quite make it through. So it feels bad, man. But what I will say is that Trap, if I recall correctly, after this event, we'll be discussing it later, but a lot of people were asking like, "Oh, all these players returning to the game?" It's like, no, I would not expect that. I would say that expect players to return for just this event, and then if they show up for more tournaments, then take that as a surprise and as a bit of a bonus, and then you can use that to maybe leverage the idea that maybe they will make a proper return. I bring this up because Trap did play in the RSL qualifiers, which caught me by surprise. I was like, like Trap, he's playing in more stuff. So bear that in mind.
He's also playing in the Crank Gathers event.
Yeah, and he's playing in the CranKy event as well, which we'll be discussing later. So, yeah, it was really exciting to see Trap. He is one of the few out of all these players that is actually devoting a little bit more time to StarCraft outside of this event.
I would say, though,
really cool to see.
I am still not sure, like, how serious that is. That maybe just like, oh, why not? Let's just, like, sign up kind of thing, where, like, he just kind of does it for fun. We'll see if he's actually more active in the tournaments to come.
Yeah, I mean that's what I just said, how for all these players, like, you don't expect them to make a full return to the game. Just if they do play in other tournaments, and take that as like a bonus, and then you can use that to try to create a better formed opinion as to whether or not they will actually make a proper return. I think Neeb is another example of that, where Neeb, the reason why people are looking at Neeb right now is because he joined ONSYDE, and it's like, did he just join ONSYDE for the tournaments, or does ONSYDE plan on supporting him to play even further from just a tournament? It's hard to say. Time will tell. We'll message Oliveira.
That should be our line on the channel. Time will tell. Time to message Paylan.
Let's go. As then the playoffs did occur. We had the playoffs. We had our non-stop mirror matchups in the quarterfinals. We had a ZVZ between Sue versus Scarlet, PvP between Neeb versus Jeshi, TVT between Innovation and TY, and then we had a little bit of diversity at the end here between Oliveira and Cyan. So again, it was brutal how the quarterfinals did turn out. I was hoping to see both Zurich players split, but no. Like initially, I was concerned. Initially, coming into this tournament, my eyes were on Sue and Innovation. I was expecting a Sue versus Ino finals, but no, Scarlet popped off. She had a very exciting and very strong showing versus Sue, and Scarlet took down the favorite player. Like I would say that Sue was favorite to win the entire tournament. Scarlet brought him down 3-2 in a very intense back and forth best of 5. Neeb had a very dominant showing over Jeshi. Neeb did advance on. TY versus Innovation was very close, very clutch. Innovation did begin 2-0, and I remember a bunch of people in the chat being like, yo, I thought TY would put up a bigger fight. I was like, Bappy, like these games were very, very short. They were very short games, very aggressive games as well. We saw a lot of all-ins from both players, and then TY turned it back up. And I love the winners interview, as TY did win the reverse sweep. He was down 2-0, then he pulled a soul key, and he 3-2'd on Innovation. The trauma. But in the winners interview, TY, they asked him, they were like, yo, you were down 2-0 in game 3. You know, what was going through your head? Like, how'd you bring it back? And TY was like, you know, after I was down 2-0, I was like, I don't want to get 3-0'd. He's like, I don't want to just get just bombed out in the tournament like this. Like, we need to win some games. So then he just kind of reset mentally and then just won it from there. 3-0. GG. So TY popped off against Innovation. Oliveira took down Cyan 3-0. Then we had our semifinals. Scarlet versus Neeb was a very fun NA rematch. Neeb was struggling to come up with builds, bearing in mind that this was in the previous patch where Zerg was much more overtuned. And Neeb was going for a lot of Glaive Ups against Scarlet, and it was kind of working, but in the end, Scarlet to bring him down. Oliveira had a very strong showing versus TY. The crowd, of course, got very behind Oliveira. Then we got Scarlet versus Oliveira in the grand finals, a best of 7. It was a very fun back and forth, actually. Very fun, very intense. We saw a lot of aggression from Oliveira. We saw some quirky builds, some Hellbat all-in, some 8-Raxes, a lot of diversity, actually, out of both players in those finals. But in the end, Scarlet did bring down Oliveira 4-2 to become our champion of Douyu Cup. GG, well played. Congratulations to Scarlet. And it was one of those things where, for an event like this, obviously there was a lot of hype around Oliveira because it's his home ground, it's his home soil. But I would say that if anyone were to beat Oliveira, I'm glad that it was Scarlet, just because Scarlet has a lot of ties to China as well. Scarlet, she's lived in China for quite some time. I know that she was studying in China. As a result of that, she's been in a lot of Chinese tournaments. She actually knows Chinese, so she was able to respond to a lot of the interview questions and even have her own comments for the fans in Chinese as well, or in Mandarin.
Yeah, I would say she was.
I do think that she was a very good, like. I would say that if anyone were to be Oliver, I'm glad it was Scarlet of all players. Like, I think she put on a good performance for the crowd as well.
Yeah, for the interviews themselves, like, she did have a translator on stage, but you could tell that, like, as the questions are being asked, she could at least understand most of it, if not all. So yes, she speaks Chinese pretty decently.
Yeah, there were a couple of moments where the host would even just say to Scarlet, like, "Hey, respond in Chinese." Like, don't be so humble. You're like, she's like, okay. So she'll respond as well. I think that happened in the Sue versus Scarlet series. I think that happened on stage, but so it was great to see Scarlet performing well and winning the tournament, of course, over Oliveira, 4-2, to be our Douyu Cup champion. GG, well played. Congratulations to Scarlet. Again, it was very fun and very intense finals, of course. And we also had some show matches. I kind of glossed over that, so we didn't actually get into it. But we had 2 show matches scheduled initially. We had one for each day of the group stage. The first one was XSKT versus XIG, basically. So we had Maxed, XY, and Coffee. These are old IG players. I think they were just called G. They were like this. They were just like, I think they were called the old Gs. That's it. They were the old Gs. And then we had XSKT, Innovation, Sue, and Fantasy. And also, it was a pretty fun 3v3. It was just the best of 1, and Fantasy was dead in that game, by the way. Like Fantasy was struggling. He was dying. And we had and honestly, Maxed, XY, and Coffee were dominating game 1, and then we had a very impressive comeback from Innovation and Stu.
I love the way you describe it. This was a very fun match. Fantasy was dead the entire time.
Oh yeah, yeah, he was dead. He was out of the game. But and again, Max said XY and Coffee had a really strong early game, but then they did fun transitioning into the mid game. They were maybe a little bit too greedy. Innovation and Sue, they were able to break out from the contain, counter attack, and then end the game then and there. So it was a very impressive comeback out of Team SKT. Then we had the Then we had the next series here, which was Team Potato Factory versus the Potatoes. No. Oh god, what was the team? It was Team Y. That's it. It was Team Y. I think it was a reference to Team XY, or to Team X, to XY, I think. But it was Chasse, F91, and Oliveira. Basically, it was the casters plus Oliveira carrying as best he could versus the foreigners. They called themselves the Potato Factory because of the meme where Chasse and F91 are often called potatoes by the Chinese fans. So I think Kellezer, he was the spokesman for the team where he was like, we're going to cook some potatoes today. We're gonna... The crowd really liked that. They got into this series, and honestly, once again, Scarlet was dead in this game. Scarlet, she went down to 5 drones. 5 workers. Like, she was down and out. Neeb and Kelzer was struggling. They were basically Chasse and F91 and Oliveira. They basically went for an early game all in. They targeted Scarlet. Scarlet, she was basically dead in the water. Kelzer and Neeb, they were bleeding out a lot of units as well. They were struggling. But also before this, in the pre-game interview, they also teased that they were going to play with one hand as well. They were like, yeah, because we're up against casters and stuff, we'll just play. They were hamming it up quite a bit. And then Neeb and Kelzer specifically, they had a very impressive comeback. They when I say comeback though, they were able to survive. They survived. They kept defending. They slowly got a 3rd base. Scarlet slowly recovered, then lost another base, and recovered, then lost another base. They slowly, it was a long game. It was a long best of 1 where they slowly built back up to 4 bases. And Chasse, F91, and Oliveira did not tech into Hive or tech into anything greater. They stuck with a layer tech composition, a mid-tier composition, and over time they stopped getting damage done. Over time, their opponents were expanding, and over time, they started to get outscaled. Right? They were not planning for a longer game, and they ran out of steam. Especially Chasse and F91, they were very much so fixated on their tech. And in the end, we had a crazy comeback from the Potato Factory. They cooked that potato. It was crazy. GG, well played. In the wins interview, Oliveira, he was throwing a lot of shade at the casters. He was like, he's like, what, I played well, I carried well, but these guys, they just can't play late game. They just I think he said they're bad at controlling spell casters, something like that. So Oliveira was throwing a little blame and shade to the casters. From the side of the foreigners, Kellezer, he said that they admitted we were dead. For a while there, Scarlet, she was out of the game basically, and Kellezer was like, so when that moment happened, I went to my team and I was like, guys, should we start using 2 hands? And then even Scarlet like, yes, we need to use both hands. I was like, So they tried, and then that's when the comeback happened. So it was a very fun show match, really fun show match. Again, fun banter between the teams as well. I do highly recommend it. Again, we did cast the entirety of this event on our channel, so I do recommend checking it out. I think we're also the only English casters that covered the show matches, because Wardy was going live later. Obviously, he's in Europe, so it was difficult to wake up early to cover this event. Wardy, he was often missing the beginning of the broadcast and going live later. We were the only English casters covering the show matches. So again, you can check that out over on our channel. Likewise, we then had an impromptu show match between Emo and Kellezer. This was just before the finals on the final day. This was not planned, but Emo showed up. Emo, apparently he's a legend in his own right in Dota. He's a Dota professional, a Dota pro, Dota 2. And he happened to be at the events, and they just organized an impromptu show match between Emo and Kellezer, where Kellezer was able to have some fun again on stage, where he went for a BC rush. He BC rushed Emo and clowned on him. When they asked him, they interrogated Kellezer on stage afterwards. Like, why'd you do this? And Kellezer was like, we didn't see BCs in the tournament, so I had to go BC. It's like, okay. I kind of wish that they went one step further and they had a Dota show match as well. I think Emo challenged him to a Dota show match one day, and Kel's like, you'll destroy me, but okay.
I was gonna say though, didn't specifically this player take part in some Dota show matches before? Like Scarlet and the rest of them.
Maybe.
I vaguely recall there was a Dota show match involving StarCraft II pros.
Yeah, it would have been again. I don't know if like Dota was installed on the PCs there, so it would have been a little bit more complicated. But it would have been fun to have organized something like that, where they play one game on StarCraft and then play one game in Dota, like 1v1, like all mid, like custom game in Dota. So that would have been fun, but alas, they just had the one show match, the one best of one, and then we had the finals. But honestly, it was a really fun event. It was a really fun event. I do highly recommend it. It was definitely an amazing week of StarCraft. Again, congratulations to Scarlet. My condolences to Oliveira, but again, it does come in second place. And again, we had a lot of really standout moments as well. I'm thinking of Sue versus Scarlet, Innovation versus TY. All the show matches, honestly, were a blast, to be honest. I kind of wish they were best of threes instead of best of ones, but I also understand that the group stage days were very long. Very, very long. So I wouldn't want them to be any longer, to be honest. I was struggling. But yeah, it was a really good event, and I do highly recommend it, of course. Bearing in mind that this was a little bit less serious just because, you know, it's an event full of retired players and full of players that aren't full-time necessarily, but still made for a very fun time nonetheless. GG. GG, well played. With that then did lead us into our next event, of course. That led us into RSL. True, we kind of alluded to this earlier, where the RSL qualifiers for the Americas, for Korea, and for Europa as well. Up first, we had the Americas qualifier in the morning. Here, this was also on the newest iteration of the patch before the hotfix. To be fair, before the hotfix. But here we had our Americas qualifier. Here we had Bjorn. Bjorn, he did go up against Trigger in the qualifying match. Did take him down 3-1, but was a very intense back and forth. What I love about this series and what I highly recommend tuning into is that Trigger, he did not morph in a single warp gate. He was doing everything with purely gateway production, and he was holding his own. Honestly, it was a really intense back and forth. Trigger, with increased production in his regular gateways, he was able to overwhelm, gain map control, but he did have a hard time reacting to drop play. That's the one thing, is that because Trigger didn't warp in at least a handful of warp gates, it meant that drop play and harassment was affecting him much more so than usual, as he could not reactively warp in. This is where most people do recommend having at least a couple of warped in warp gates for the late game, just so you can warp in some units when you need to defend. Trigger didn't. He didn't have any, so he was being torn apart a little bit, and Bjorn did bring him down. But remember, this is early in the new patch. We then also had Kira versus Zaun. Zaun was less involved in the patch. Like I just said, Zaun, he was playing a lot more like the previous patch. He was playing a lot more old school. When I say old school, like 2 weeks ago. So Zaun was playing very much so like the previous edition of the game, so he had a bit of a harder time adapting and transitioning. And we had dominant play from our two Terrans, Bjorn and Kira, qualifying for RSL. GG. GG well played, but some really fun qualifying matches nonetheless. Do you recommend it? That led us that following day into the Korean qualifier. Here we had Maru. We had Maru in a qualifying match over Percival. Percival did take down Trigger 2-0. We then also had a PvP between Nightmare and Zaun. Remember, Trap, he did sign up for the Korean qualifier. So Zaun, he is expressing some interest in StarCraft here outside of just Douyu Cup, which is great to see. So Maru took down Percival 3-0. He had honestly a dominant performance against Percival. Unfortunately, no one casted Maru versus Silky. I think we all just assumed that Maru would have a dominant performance over Silky, but it was actually a back and forth, but wasn't casted, unfortunately. But a surprising result nonetheless. Maru does take down Percival 3-0. We then had Zaun taking down Young Yakov 2-1. We had Nightmare over Trap 2-0. And I was favoring Zaun in those finals, but no, Nightmare. It was a very intense PvP, by the way. Very intense, hyper aggressive, as PvP typically is. But it was almost non-stop one-base all-ins. We had some two-base play. I think it was the ace match. Like the final game actually led into like 3-base saturation. But it was a very, very aggressive series between Zaun and Nightmare. Very intense and very hard to call as well. I do recommend it. It was fun. It was really fun. It was a very intense series. That's all you want out of PvP. None of this, you know, macro until like 2 and 3 bases and build up an army. Like, no, it's a lot of one-base play. And in the end, Nightmare came out on top. Did take down Zaun to qualify for RSL alongside Maru. That led us into the European qualifier. Here we had Percival having one last chance to qualify. I think it looks like the only Korean to play in the qualifier, as it's a very rough time slot for the Korean scene. Alongside Trigger as well, true. They face off again. What happened? Ay. What was the seeding? They just keep playing. Percival takes down Trigger 2-1 to advance onto a qualifying match. Cyril takes down Young Yakov 2-1 as well. Cyril takes down Percival 3-0 to qualify for RSL. Meanwhile, we had GG Machine with a 2-1 over Rainer. Oh my, that's crazy. Huge win there. GG Machine takes down Shameless 2-0, takes down Rainer 2-1, and takes down Christianer 3-2 to qualify for RSL. Shout out to Christianer as he took down Nicorect and he took down Showtime as well. So really, really big results here. Upsets in general, or upsets abound. Cristiano over Showtime, that's an upset. GG Machine over Rainer, also an upset as well. But congratulations as GG Machine qualifies for RSL. Huge win there. GG. GG, well played with congratulations to Cyril and GG Machine for advancing on into the main event. When it comes to the main event itself, so far we have, let's have a look. We do have our seeded players from the previous round, from the previous season. We have Classic and Hero for Protoss, alongside now Nightmare from the Korean qualifier. We had Bunny and Clem for Terran, alongside Björn, Kyr, and Maru for Terran. So we have our 5 Terran players, we have 3 Protoss, and we have 6 Zerg, with Lambo, Rogue, Shin, and Solar from the previous season, alongside Cyril and GG Machine from the European qualifier. So here we go. We have 3 Protoss, 5 Terran, and 6 Zerg, and we have 2 more players to be determined from the fan vote. Now, it says fan vote. It should really be Patreon vote. The patrons do have power to vote for who they want. Who will they pick? Now, if you remember, originally players could only pick players that, patrons could only pick players that played in the qualifiers, but they removed that restriction. They removed that restriction, so now they can pick anyone. So because of that, I mean, anyone's going to be available here. I would imagine that the top picks in my mind, based on the qualifiers, are going to be Rainer, and most likely Showtime. Like, those are 2 fan favorites that did not qualify, that even did play in the qualifiers themselves, that have a big fan base. I would imagine that those are the 2 most likely candidates to be brought into the fold. It's going to be Rainer and Showtime. Outside of them, again, like, I do think that they have bigger fan bases than Trigger. Like, I would want to see Trigger play and compete. He fought hard for this. Percival, he's another hard worker as well. But the reality is, I don't think that their fan bases are as big.
I would say that Trigger even tweeted, even posted on socials to please vote for him, because he really tried to get in and he wasn't able to.
Yeah. I mean, there's a world where maybe Basilisk, maybe they run like a promotion campaign for their 2 boys, so they can promote Rainer and Trigger together. So they could do that to try to like harness, you know, their fan bases to be able to vote for Trigger and to vote for Rainer as well. But as I said, like, the reality is that Showtime and Rainer do have bigger fan bases. They do have bigger. They're just bigger names, but I would love to see like Trigger compete and Trigger get in, and maybe even a Percival as well, but we'll see. We'll see what happens with the fan vote. As that leads us into HomeStory Cup. HomeStory Cup, again, is this weekend. It's the big event that's going to be on the latest version of the patch. We did just get, of course, updates regarding the players themselves. We do have, I believe, confirmed groups. So from the top here, we have 11 Protoss, we have 4 Terran, and 9 Zerg. From Protoss, we have Arrowfire, Geralt, Hearthstone, Holy Hit, Jumi, Christianer, Ledlix, Sebestus, Showtime, Skillus, and Vaeda. For Terran, we have Baby Marine, Clem, Hero Marine, and Uwu Thermal. For Zerg, we have Silicis, we have Elazer, Fiant, Lambo, Lorimba is going to be there, Mixu, Rainer, Cyril, and Shino. Okay, so we do have our top 24 players here. We're missing a couple. I will say that was Battle B a part of the previous? I know that Battle B has been very inconsistent when it comes to him competing, but let's have a look here. When it comes to the players that were active, Diego. Oh, so last season, last HomeStory Cup, Kelzer was competing. Kelzer is not a part of this tournament, so he's the first that does come to mind. Who else here? For Zerg, we have all the same Zerg players. For Protoss, I want to say we're missing some. So last time we had Mana. This time, no Mana. So Mana is not going to be at HomeStory Cup this time. Another that comes to mind here is Trigger. But again, sorry, I should mention this as well. And if you noticed, but as opposed to HomeStory Cups in the past, even the last HomeStory Cup, this time there's no foreigners, right? Like it's purely European, pure European lineup here. No one from Korea, no one from the Americas either. So pure European lineup. Obviously this is cheaper, right? Flight costs they can be quite expensive. They do rack up. In the past, they've been able to have at least a couple of Koreans. Last HomeStory Cup, there was Zaun, there was SOS, there was Nightmare. It's a little bit different because Nightmare and SOS, I believe they were supported by Streamer Zone, as they were able to help fly them over. And I believe Team Vitality helped Ryung and Zaun fly over as well. So that alleviated some of the flight costs. But Team Vitality no longer supporting ONSYDE. And maybe Streamer Zone is pulling back a little bit as well. So as a result, there's no SOS. Sorry, there's no Zaun, there's no Ryung, no SOS, no Nightmare. Pure European lineup instead. Because of this, it does mean that when it comes to the top players here, it's a little bit more. There's a little bit less variety, of course. We're expecting several Raynor, Clem, and Showtime. They're the top players here. SCHILIS has been looking really good as of late. And to be fair, hey, we just... nah, never mind. I was going to say, like, hey, GG Machine, he beat Raynor previously, but he's not part of this tournament. Cristiano, I would say that he's the other player with a lot of potential. If you remember, he did defeat Showtime earlier, and Cristiano's been looking really good as of late. So he's a player that is definitely on our radar to maybe cause some upsets and maybe have a stronger performance. Gabe, of course, he doesn't play in many Open Cups, so it's hard to say his level of play, but Gabe is also another kind of big name here that can shake up the upper echelon of players. So those are the two players I'm looking at, is like Gabe and Cristiano for like to cause some upsets. Otherwise, Clem, Showtime, and SCHILIS as well. Otherwise, Clem, Showtime, Cell, Raynor, those are the top players that we're looking at here. Wish everyone, of course, the best. As the event started. Oh my god, I didn't even realize.
The event started like an hour ago, so keep in mind there will be spoilers.
Yeah, there's going to be spoilers here. So HomeStory Cup has begun. We have Group A. Group A is Raynor, Cristiano, Gabe, Shino, Jumi, and Holy Hits. Ooh, brutal to see only top 2 make it through the groups. Very brutal format. Because of that, we're expecting it to be Raynor and Gabe, but I would love to see Cristiano like shake that up a little bit and maybe make it through instead. We'll see. So best of luck to everyone else involved, of course. But again, Raynor and Gabe are the top 2 players here. Raynor took down Holy Hit 2-1. Gabe took down Shino 2-0. Gabe took down Shino 2-1. Already showing, looking a little bit shaky there in that series. So we'll see if Gabe can keep that up. And Cristiano takes down Jumi 2-0 as well. Best of luck to all the players involved. Group B, we have Clem, Showtime, Laser, Fire, Sebestis, and Lorimbo. How does Lorimbo still not have a Wikipedia page? That's crazy. Like, that's actually insane. Like, that's what's going on here. He's been at a lot of tournaments. When it comes to this group, Clem and Showtime are the top 2 players here that we're expecting to make it through. Best of luck to a Laser, as Laser can, of course, shake that up and kind of break that mold. Best of luck to everyone else, of course. Group C, we have Serral, Harstem, Ubu Thermal, Geralt, Silicis, and Vaeda. I would say that this group is maybe the most competitive group, actually. Serral is the clear favorite, but I would say that the skill difference between Harstem, Euthermal, and Geralt is a lot closer. Yeah, it's a lot closer here. So I want to tentatively say Serral and Harstem, but I can see Geralt beating Harstem, and I can see Euthermal beating Harstem as well. So like Group C is maybe a little more in flux when it comes to fighting for second place. Group D is going to be Lambos, SCHILIS, Fiance, Baby Marine, Mixu, and Ledlix. Interesting. Once again, here, Lambo and SCHILIS are the top 2 players that we expect to make it through. Best of luck to all the others that can maybe threaten that as well. Best of luck. I see Yako in the chat. Makes sense. We already had the 2017 Cup. Now it's time for the 2011 HomeStory Cup. Yes, pure Europe, Pappy. Pure Europe. We're going back to Take's apartment.
To be fair, I have heard that there were some like more outside Europe invites, but they were not accepted for whatever reason. But I know no details about it. It was just like an off comment somewhere. So maybe that wasn't the original plan to have full Europe.
I mean, from my understanding, when it comes to outside of European invites, they have to pay for their own flights. That's why I alluded to earlier that
apparently this one was with travel. Apparently this time it was with travel, but they were declined. Okay, but it was not specified like who it was or where it was. Like just very vague.
That's why I specified that for the last edition we had Ryung and Xian, who were supported by Team Vitality, and SOS and Nightmare that were supported by Streamer Zone. It is a shame if it sounds like there was maybe like another higher profile player that maybe did refuse.
I feel like it might have been maybe because there are other tournaments around it, like maybe there were some scheduling issues or something.
Maybe. Unlikely, but sure. As there aren't any other tournaments happening right now. Except for Crank Gathers. True. But yeah, we'll see. Regardless, again, best of luck to all the players in the group stage as they're all going to be facing off. Hoping for some upsets. As I mentioned, we'll see if Cristiano can maybe cause an upset in his group, or Laser causing an upset, or who makes it out of Group C alongside Cyril. Hard to say. But best of luck to all the players as they're facing off this weekend over the next 3 days of StarCraft. Again, we for many years actually were the B streamer for HomeStory Cup, but nowadays we don't really have the free time to commit to that, especially with other commitments that we have, other IRL commitments. So we will not be the B stream this time. We weren't the B stream for HomeStory Cup 28 and 29 now as well. So 2 HomeStory Cups that we are not the B stream on. Most likely we'll be covering this via replays, bearing in mind this is on the latest patch as well. If we cast it via replays, traditionally we would cast everything, the group stage and the playoffs, but now we'll probably just cover the playoffs. That is most likely what we'll be doing. Most likely. But otherwise, best of luck to everyone here at the event. When it comes to the event itself, Bovo, the organizer of the tournament, did make a very public post about it, expressing as to why they decided to host the event on the live version of the game instead of the PTR. I don't like how this was handled. There are some people that are like, oh, you know, transparency is good, and it's a good thing that that they decided to put this all on the latest patch on the live version of the game. But I read this post as pretty unprofessional, and I read this post as basically Bovo trying to absolve himself of something that he believes is not right, and trying to push blame onto players, and even naming them as well, which I don't know why he I know why he did that. I don't like that he did that. Once again, like, from my understanding here, Bovo did not want the tournament to be on the live version of the game. He wanted it to be on the mod, and then, I mean, he made it public here. Lemo and Harsum, they proposed the idea of having like a vote, and then the players voted against Bovo, and Bovo was not happy about that. Like he was not. So he felt the need to have like a very long and lengthy response here, where he tried to make it clear to everyone that he did not want this to happen, and that it's like other people's fault, quote unquote. The reason, and I mean, I really don't like that he did this, especially because there's now a lot of now there's no surprises here. There's actually a lot of like hate being directed to Harsum and Lambo specifically now because of that. If you've been looking at socials and on Twitter and stuff, like there's like a lot of people that are like that have really strong feelings about the patch, and extreme feelings about the patch as well, that don't like it, that don't want it, that are now like targeting like Lambo and Harsum because of that as well. Which is crazy. Like, this is insane. Like, I mean, again, like this kind of goes in line of what we were saying previously about Harsum opening up about some hate that he's been receiving over the years, and how he was like threatened with his own like home address and stuff like that by people that have like obviously like extreme views on like the balance of the game, and for like, once again, like Bovo to try to like direct that to like Lemon and Harsum it's actually crazy. Like, this was insanely unprofessional. Like, there are some people that look at this at a more like shallow level, that are like, oh, like, you know, but like it's like a good thing that it was like a player vote and stuff like that. But like the reasoning and the rationale why Bovo did this was, again, to like absolve anything from himself, and to like push blame and to push responsibility onto other people that where he believed that like this was like a bad decision. So yeah, I don't know. Like, Bovo, like he was a clown for this post. Like, it's crazy. Like, like, hi. So yeah. It's again, a lot of people look at this as like, oh, you know, at least like it's a good thing that they're being transparent. But like, I read this in a very different way, especially because like we know that Bovo, he was very much so against this as well. yeah, I don't know. It was crazy. So yeah, it's pretty insane that that this was done ahead of time. Um, hopefully, like this isn't done in the future or something like that. And yeah, we'll see what happens. Regardless, even it's going to play, of course, on the live version of the game, and we can move past this. But I will say that like the amount of people that have really strong feelings about the patch and really strong feelings about everything, and that are like pushing a lot of attention and a lot of negativity towards specific people, whether it's Hearthstone, whether it's Lambo, Pig as well. Pig is getting a lot of that. Like he like there's a lot of people that are pushing back against Pig. There's a lot of people that are pushing against like Wardy as well, like for their takes and for their opinions and things like that, and for what they perceive to be like even their fault for things, right? Like there's a lot of people that blame Pig for the worker change and believe that he's like, you know, doing things that hurt the scene and hurt StarCraft, like maliciously so. Like they like there's a lot of people that are pushing things quite far there, and yeah, hopefully it doesn't get too out of hand like it has in the past. So yeah, for everyone out there, regardless of your thoughts on the patch and thoughts on things, hopefully you can express yourselves in a more constructive way, instead of like targeting people's loved ones, you know, like trying to dox people, spread information, like DDoS, like all like going one step further, well, which like that kind of stuff has been happening. So yeah, hopefully people can watch themselves and discourage that sort of behavior. Moving forward there, we have our next big events. When it comes to modern tournaments, we do have the Circle Derpling Evolution number 5. Here, this was an FFA. I believe this was on SC Evo.
I believe
FFA Beast of the Hill.
Yeah, I believe the Circle Derpling events are always FFA.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's FFA Beast of the Hill. Looks like it was. It looks like the Wikipedia page is a little bit broken, so it's a little bit hard to read. But it looks like we had basically a bunch of FFAs between Homono, Zayad, Mevin, Goblin, Blast, Kakar's Top, Mixu, and Rake. Again, this is like an irregular tournament. Every now and then this is hosted. It's just a bit of a fun like FFA style tournament. Honestly, really do like the kind of Beast of the Hill events. It's a unique format. There's a lot of banter. It's just purely for fun, not the most competitive tournament out there, especially because like you can gang up on people, you can target people, like it's not the most balanced thing, but it's a good time nonetheless. It's always a good time. Congratulations to Homono for claiming the win and for becoming our Beast of the Hill champion for the Circle Derpling Evolution number 5. GG. GG well played. Interesting enough, it looks like Zombrigub actually casted this event, which is interesting. I know that Zombrigub has actively been staying away from SC Evolution for quite some time, due to the community as well. I think we mentioned this previously. We alluded to it, but the StarCraft Evolution community can be a little bit intense, just because it's a format that is ripe with trying to invite people that have strong feelings about StarCraft II, and if they believe like that StarCraft II is an inferior game or is not a good game or is not going in the right direction, then they can like flock to SC Evo, and whenever they do that, it's very common that they try to like find like-minded individuals, or they try to push that kind of narrative like in chats and in communities to be like, yeah, look, isn't this so much better than StarCraft 2 or things like that, and it can get very toxic, and Zombrigub's been very vocal about that, about how she doesn't like that. It's been a big turnoff for SC Evolution. So it's interesting to see her step into this, but this is a funner format, of course. It's FFA, right? It's FFA, it's Beast of the Hill, so less serious, and yeah, really cool to see Zombrigub just casting a little bit more than we otherwise expect. So cool to see. That leads us into the Amateur League Weekly number 164. Going to be hosted on a different. Oh, this is I don't know.
This is a new website created by System.
Oh, interesting. So, yeah, I have not seen this site before. I know there are a bunch of sites that are popping up recently when it comes to brackets, when it comes to other things. But it's cool. It's got a little bit more information here when it comes to the player ID, when it comes to the race as well, which is nice. Wikipedia-esque, if you will. So nice, clean format. Here we have
Something
Jackals. Jackals takes.
I would say something that they are very proud of as the website is that they have more caster tools. So stuff like vetoes, for example, you can watch the vetoes as they happen when you spectate a match. So they have more tools for people covering the event as well, not just the brackets.
Yeah. That's really cool. It's really cool functionality within the bracket itself, assuming the players use it, of course, right? Like assuming that they use that functionality to be able to like input the vetoes and input the maps and things of that nature. So here we have Jackals. Jackals takes down Tebs 2-0. We have Shuklar takes down X-Decker 2-0 as well. Yeah, it looks like the readers were inputted. Let's go. That's cool. Would you see Shukla? I'm not familiar with him as a player, but he takes down X-Decker 2-0, takes down Jackals 2-0, takes down and does fall to Shuklar in the. Sorry, it does take down X-Decker the rematch as well, 3-0. So it doesn't drop a single map here. It does claim the series. Congratulations to Shular for claiming the tournament. That leads us to the Amateur League Weekly Veteran Edition. This is for Diamond 3 to Diamond 2. Here we see a lot of regulars. We have Sugarcoat the second, takes down Heyman 2-0, takes down Pretty Fly 2-0, takes down Bot Gamer 2-0. Oh my god. Does end up falling to Smite Steel UA 2-1. And then Smite Steel UA does advance on to the grand finals, takes down Bot Gamer 3-0 to become this week's champion. Congratulations to Smite Steel UA. GG well played. That leads us over here into our next tournaments, the Amateur League Weekly Prestige, Diamond 1 to Masters 2. Here we have Nox, he takes down Boreal 2-1. He does fall to Matrix 2-0 in the semifinals. There we see a walkover win, a little bit unfortunate. Ziger gets a walkover win over Matrix. Funnily enough, Matrix plays in the finals though. What happened? Maybe something came up. He was unavailable, but he was available to play the lower bracket finals, beat Boreal 1-0, and then beat Ziger 3-1 in the grand finals. GG well played. I don't think that happens very often. I don't know if I've seen where a player forfeits initially, but then they come back in time to play later in the tournament. If that happens, it happens like in the first round, right? It's weird to see that happen mid-tournament though. That's where it's a bit weird. I don't think I've seen that before, where they forfeit like in the as deep as the upper bracket finals when they come back in the lower bracket. So GG well played. Congratulations to Matrix, does claim the win. That leads us into the GM edition, where Meower Doom gets a walkover win over a no-show. GG well played. That leads us into our next tournament. That leads us into the Yamato Cup number 6. Un momento here. As we do have, this has become an irregular tournament. Every now and then we see Yamato Cup is being organized by Killer B, of course. This is a big event here that's is an open cup for the European region. Sorry, I say open cup, 5k MR and below. So this is like high M1, low GM. Depending on what region you're in. So here we have some of the regulars. We have Dizzy Dwarf, we have Beast, we have Cossit, Bombs Bomb, and some other regular players that we are familiar with. Here we see Beast. Beast takes down Marte 2-0, does fall to Don't Mess. Don't Mess does fall to Yellow Fox in the bracket finals, and then Beastie comes back, but does once again fall to Yellow Fox. Yellow Fox, he only drops a map to Dizzy Dwarf. Otherwise, he is going to be this Yamato Cup champion. GG well played. Congratulations to Yellow Fox, a player that I'm very unfamiliar with, but this is also because this is a MR bracket that we don't really cover too much, because it's 5k and below. I imagine this player is like 4.9, 4.8, 5k-ish. So it does have a much more dominant showing against these other like M2 players. GG well played. That leads us into the World University Team League Division 1. Do we finally get some updates?
Hold on. Here's the thing. Guys, give me a second and I will update it, or I will reopen it, because apparently the scores are only visible if you are logged in to Wikipedia. So something is going on with the updates, so I will be there shortly.
Yeah, unfortunately, once again, there are no details as to the results. So it's, once again, we have very limited information as to what's happening here. We have scores inputted, but no like specifics when it comes to like who played who won what game or anything like that. Maybe we can try to get into contact with some of the organizers of this to try to get some information, but yeah, very, very limited here. So first we have Harvard. Who is Yanfan and Xingming. They take down Team Quantian Polite. sorry, Polytechnic. They take them down 4-2. That is the Canadian team. They take them down 4-2 to advance on to the quarterfinals, where they face off against UCL. UCL is a team of Clown Frog and Shin Suarez. Where they also bring them down 4-3. So in the end, Harvard does advance on to the semifinals. Meanwhile, we have Team East China UST. They go up and they take down Team UFP. Hold on, let's have a look here. East China UST. This is Jolua Loves and Migi. Ooh, that's actually a pretty strong team. That's a pretty strong team. They do take down UFP. I don't know who they are. I don't see the. Am I blind? Oh, sorry, that's you. Oh no, that's the Brazilian team. Oh no, I believe that's Eric and Inexorable. So, ooh, Eric and Inexorable, they go down early on there in the quarterfinals. Feels bad, man. Feels bad. That was Universidade Federal del. I'm not too sure. But they do go down. We then had Beijing IT versus Iron Shams. That is, let's see. Team Rewind, TATP, and Millennium Fox. Ooh, that's another strong team. Yo, the Chinese teams are crazy in this team league. Oh my god. They're up against, they do take down Team Iron Shams, which is Magnath and Sebestus. So strong showing there by, again, Rewind, TATP, and Millennium Fox. We then had South Alberta going up against Jackson State. South Alberta is Team Green Arts and Patches. They take down Team Fiat and Yo, whoa, what? That's crazy. Green and Patches, they beat Fiant and Foxer? That's insane. What's the format? Is this 1v1 or 2v2? Okay, it says here. There's 1v1s, Archon mode, and 2v2s in the format. This is where it'll be useful to see the specificities of these matches. I would imagine that Patches and Green Art, maybe they won the Archon mode and the 2v2s. But they clutched it out in one of the best of ones. Okay. So GG well played, congratulations here. We have South Alberta representing NA against otherwise purely Chinese teams. Coming into this league, who's my favorite team here? Probably... I'm going to lean towards Miggy and Jolua Loves, only because Beijing IT has a bigger roster, which means they might not field Millennium Fox. I rate Millennium Fox and TATP really highly. I don't rate Rewhite too highly at the moment. I do think he's the weaker player on their team. So depending on who gets fielded, we'll see. Miggy's been looking really good. I'm on the Miggy hype train. So I'm gonna say East China UST is coming as the favorite team. Beijing IT though is gonna be I can see that being the finals. East China versus Beijing. I feel like they're gonna be the finals, and then I'm probably leaning towards East China for the event. But best of luck though to remaining teams. Best of luck. Where's Texas? Oh no, they got taken down the qualifiers. But really cool to see the tournament taking place. I just wish that we had some more details when it comes to the results themselves. So hopefully we can get that at some point. Up next, we have the StarCraft II Community Team League 2026 Spring Regular Season. We are nearing the end of the round robin stage. We just wrapped up round 13. So here we had Team Little Fairy. They take down Team Proto Celeste 4-2. In the end here, we had Little Fairy with Ear and Aika tied 1-1. We had Yudi Soldier and Trap tied 1-1. And then we had, who is this? We had DYYS taking down Disco Protoss 2-0 to claim the series. We then had Team Elpis. Elpis went up against Team PCEC, a very clutch series between the two of them as well. We had Nanami. Nanami Chiaki did go 1-1 with, I think that is Millennium Fox, correct? Or is that Sarah Kerrigan? That's Sarah Kerrigan. God damn it. Okay, so we had Nanami Chiaki and Sarah Kerrigan tied 1-1. We had SCV versus, I believe that is Nanyo. Yes. Yes. We had Nanyo and SCV tied 1-1. We had Lemon and Smile tied 1-1. That's a bit of, wait, what Lemon is that? Why does he have a Chinese flag? That is incorrect.
The question is this Lemon? Or is this a different Lemon?
I believe it is this Lemon. Yep, because he's on PC. Sorry, he's on Elvis. Yeah. So
Okay.
looks like they have the wrong flag there. But Lemon, the Taiwanese Protoss, does tie 1-1 with Smile, and then Lemon takes down Nanyu in the grand final. So GG, well played. We'll put a note to fix up the flags there for the Chinese Team League. I think there's just a very high chance that because it's almost purely Chinese players, they just put the Chinese flag on all the players, and they just kind of slip up there. But meanwhile, we have Hist versus Lior. We do see Hist 4-2 over Lior in their own series. We had Elpis 3 6-0 over Fairy Thug. We had Astartes 5-1 over Starlight. Whoa, that's a big upset. Hold on. Latte takes down Triple H 2-0. We had Luo Seng 1-1 versus Rewhite, and we had Helive, who I have no idea who that is, taking down Young Zest 2-0. That is insane. This is a huge upset. GG, well played. Starlight Twinkle, they're not confirmed to make it out of the group stage, by the way. Not yet. That's a huge upset. I almost want to believe that maybe Starlight Twinkle, they off-raced or something. Like, I rate Young Zest very highly. Like, he's one of the best Protoss players in China. So to see him go down 0-2... new patch. Never mind. It just kicked in. This is the first round on the new patch. True. Okay. Dice. It's all piecing together here. Okay. Yeah, this is on the 28th? No, 26th. So that is huge. That is pretty huge here. So Astartes out of nowhere with a pure Zerg lineup. They win 5-1 over a favorite Protoss team. So I think that's the patch coming into full swing. This is also the first iteration of the patch as well. Bear that in mind. So big win there for Astartes. We then get the walkover win, Super Puppy over Team Rookie Warpgate. And then we have Team Old Man. The Old Man, they take down Kauda 5-1, with Jeshi dropping a map to Ghost. Then we have Super Kitty up against her project, 5-1 in favor of Super Kitty as well. GG, well played. With that, we do have some pretty crazy upsets here in round of 13, and that leads us into round 14, where it looks like there is already a walkover win. Toad Project, they get a walkover win over Elpis 3, and we'll see if they end up playing it later on. This is going to be played out in a couple of hours, though. In 30 minutes, round 14 will be taking place. Best of luck to all the players, of course. Best of luck to all the teams. Coming into this suddenly, I'm looking at Astartes versus Team Little Fairy, for sure. Starlight Twinkle, they need to win their match against Super Puppy to make it through. Old Man versus Super Kitty, that's going to be very competitive. It's going to be a very competitive series. And then we have Elpis versus Hist as well. When it comes to the overall standings, you can see that Elpis, Super Kitty, Toad Project, Old Man, and PCEC are already confirmed to make it into the playoffs. But Starlight Twinkle, Little Fairy, Super Puppy, Hist, and Astartes, they're still fighting for spots to make it into the playoffs. So that's why it's crucial here that Starlight Twinkle win some games. They're one of the stronger teams in the region, but they are struggling a little bit towards the tail end here. Astartes could have a crazy comeback with their Zerg lineup as well. Like they could come back and make it through. It'll be crazy if they do. It'll be crazy. So again, 2 rounds left in the round robin group stage. Up next, we have the All Things Protoss Team League Season 5, which has been taking place. Let's have a look at... Have we looked at the teams themselves yet? I don't think we have. Okay, we have Goobers Unchained. Interesting, because I believe they were just the Goobers first. I need to very quickly look at
the Goobers. That it was 4. Like the return of the Goobers. Like they have a different team name every time, but it's always about the Goobers.
Yeah, so we had the return of the Goobers. That was Fiant, Ezreal, Lilypad, Sebestus, and Stonestar. Meanwhile, we have Goobers Unchained, which is Fiant once again. So he is the Goober. Like Fiat, he's the Goober, he's the constant here in the league, alongside Lilypad once again, but now with a fresh lineup of other players, because they do have a draft, of course, with Deadlykin, with Gorthor, and with Tolo as well. So we'll see if Fiat can lead the Goobers to victory. We then had Karatije, Orange Kickers. I don't understand the reference here.
I think this is in Dutch. Understand? I think this is something about Dutch, because the color of Dutch national things is orange. Like they're like sports teams and stuff.
I was gonna say I think this might be like a football reference. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe.
But here we have Hydra or Vaida. We have Vaida who's going to be leading the team alongside Bomioja, Arki, Frogos, and Delphus. I would say it's a pretty decent team. We have the Pink Hair Star Maids. Team captain is Silly Maid. With Hacker is Maid. I see what's happening here.
Hacker is Maid. Yes.
Tinkomen, Haroko, and Revo as well.
Meanwhile, hold on. I'm asking, where is Holy Hit? He actually has pink hair.
True. Where is Holy Hit? He should be here. Oh, I just read Silly Maid is Astra. Now it makes more sense. I was like, who is Silly Maid? That's Astra. He name changed for this league. Did Astra also dye his hair pink? God damn it.
Where's the pink? Where's the pink? Who's the pink here?
Yeah. They're all weebs. God damn it. Sourdough Caliphate is up next with Sebestus, Regal, Ledlix, Waffles, and Ardent. And then have the Canon Council, not pure Protoss. We have Luton, Universe, Akash, Silicis, and Flatthor.
Inflatable Thor.
Inflatable Thor. Okay, there we go. I was very confused.
They're so delicious. Just like...
I could not understand that. Interesting that's the Canon Council, considering that we'll see if some of the other notable Canon rushes are elsewhere. We'll see. We have the South Magyars, Nihed, Magnath. I see. We have Magnath, New Horizons, Azarel, and Legoland Man. We have There Is No A in Crimpus with Azura, Patches, Akedon, Anticore, and Crimpus. There you go. There is no A in Crimpus, but there is an A in all the other players. So that's probably where that comes from. We have V for vitamin deficiency. Oh, we have the vitamin D deficient players. Inexorable, Defi, Gemini, Xenodactyl, and Zirila. I can confirm they're all blinding white and have no vitamin D. Up next, we have the Weeaboo Awebos, Rake, Mixu, Neo, Franz, and Iberi.
I wonder if this refers to what I think it is. There is a Finnish bird that I really love, by the way, that is dubbed by the internet an Awebo bird. It's not its actual name. But that's the sound it makes.
And then we have 0 aggressive options, with Lorimbo, of course, being the captain, followed by Cobblestone, Sacred Coconut, Luilis, and Tixt. Okay, we got some teams. Now, when it comes to these teams, bearing in mind that I believe for a lot of these top players, they're going to be off-racing. I don't think they've listed themselves as off-racing yet, but because this is to be a little bit more fair, and I think they have a bit of an MMR cap, very often we see off-racing from Mixu or Lorimbo or Azura or Fiant or Sebestus, just to make things a little bit more fair. So do expect that to occur throughout the course of the brackets. Looking at face value, looking at these teams, who do I rate highly here? So Guber's unchanged. They have the core of Fiant and Deadly Kitten. We have the Yoranje Kickers, with the core being Vaeda and Bomioja. We have Pink Hair Star Maids, which has no core. It's they're just all weebs.
What about Hacker is Made?
Nah, it's just full of Why is Homeowner should be on that team? Where's Homeowner?
I was gonna say, when I saw the team name, I'm like, is that Homeowner's team? What is going on here?
Homeowner should be in there. They're missing without Homeowner. Are they really Star Maids? That's so they're missing some Homeowner action there. Sourdough, they have Sebestus and Lilix as kind of that core. The Canon Council, they got Luton, they got Universe, South Magyars, they got Nihed and Magnath. When I'm looking at these teams, I don't know why, but there is no A in Crimpus. Looks very stacked to me. They've got Azura, they've got Anticore, they've got Akedon, who's not too far behind them either. Those are the 3 that I look at for that team. They've got it feels like they have a bit of a deeper, stronger roster, but there could be off racing happening, so that's something to bear in mind. The D deficient team, they got some, they got some D. They got Inexorable, Gemini, they got Xenodactyl. Weeaboo Awebos, Rake and Mixus, who I look at. We got Lorimbo, Luli. Yeah, I think I'm mainly looking at there is no A in Crimpus, right? I look at Azura, Akedon, and Anticore. I look at those 3 being a pretty solid trifecta, a triple threat, with Patches and Crimpus supporting. That's what I'm looking at. To be fair, I'm not very familiar with Azarel, for example. I'm like undercutting like the Weeb team, like the pink hair team, but like they can also be really strong. Like Astra, Hacker's top, and Haroku, like they can be solid as well. But for now, I'm gonna pick like there is no A in Crimpus as the favorite team for now. But again, a bunch of off racing can happen, so like it can all just be thrown up. It's just a meme league, so who knows? Who knows what'll happen? Who knows? When it comes to the groups, let's head on over here. We have Group A, we have Group B. Looks like the first week has concluded, and the second week is getting underway. We have Huevos in Group A, alongside the South Magyars. There's no Aang Crimpus, V Deficient, and the Pink Maids. Up first, we had Huevos versus Vitamin D Deficient. What is going on here with these? Is this like a bug? Where are the results? Like what? This happened in the other tournament as well. Is this a bug, or do we just? I feel like the All Things Protoss guys are usually really good at this. Like having some details.
I would say for the past like season or two, there actually weren't even pages made, because I think it happened because Gemini was like more busy with RSL, so he couldn't actually help with updating stuff. But let me check. Yeah, there are no details. There are no details.
Yeah, but the previous league had details. That's why I'm saying. Like, if you look at the spring split from 2025.
No, yeah. When like they did have pages, they did have details. But yes, just nobody added the details on the page.
Yeah, and that was season 4. So season 4 had it. So yeah, we gotta ping GG Imini about this, because that's the most fun part, is seeing the scores.
I would say this is your call, dear viewer, to update the Wikipedia. If you maybe are in contact, or maybe you are playing in the All Things Protoss Team Leagues, then consider adding the scores. The same for FSL, because FSL has been having a lot of trouble with their pages. And of course, we mentioned that before, but we have the Shopify Rebellion Sundays, which are also a little bit messy because of the lack of information. So if you are in contact with any of those organizers, or maybe you are playing in those tournaments, then feel free to add some details.
Yes, we would appreciate some of the match results here and some of the details, so we can see what's going on in the team league. It's a fun community event, and I feel like we're lacking some of that community fun here. But Weeabos, they take down Vitamin D 6-4. We do see the South Maggie, they take down There Is No A in Crimpus 6-5. It was close, but they do bring them down. Big win there for the Maggie. Then had Weebos, they take down the Pink Hair Star Maid 6-4 as well. So strong start here from the Weebs. They're looking good. They're looking powerful in Group A. Over in Group B, just the first week has concluded. We have the Sourdough Caliphate. They take down I want to say Karage Chicken every time I see that name. They take down the Orange 8-2. And we have the Cannon Council take down the Goobers 6-4 as well. But again, still early in the groups. And hopefully we can get some match-specific results up for next week. Hopefully. Up next, we do have our next big event here. We do have our regional events. We have the Born Gosu Star League Revival. I've not seen an event from Born Gosu in a very long time, so big shout out to the Born Gosu boys, as it looks like they're still active in their own way. Up first here, we have the Revival League. It's an in-house tournament organized by Born Gosu that's open to all members of the clan, as well as select a few invites. Okay, let's have a look if we recognize anyone. Speaking of invited, Patches has been invited. We have Lenny and Tonsi also invited from the players themselves. We see Hunted Swarm, we see Miro. We see, I think I remember Source King, maybe. Aaron Noob, Shineko, Green Nerds. A lot of these guys I'm a little bit unfamiliar with, unfortunately. A lot of these guys I'm not really too familiar with. But regardless, they've set up their brackets, and it looks like they have not actually begun the league yet. At least has yet to be updated here on the page. But best of luck. Best of luck. Again, it's really cool to see Born Gosu is still active in some way. We have our own ties to Born Gosu. They were the original OPL champions, if you recall. And with their winnings, they actually ordered some custom mugs with the OPL logo. So really cool it was just, yeah, it was very wholesome, very, very wholesome. Born Gosu many years ago, they won the Oceanic Pond League.
Yes, they won the one team league that the CranKy Ducklings organized, because I realized that at this point there may be viewers that don't even know that happened. But back in the day, years ago, we organized an amateur team league, and Born Gosu were the winners. I will say though, from this place, I am very sorry that the interviews never got released, because we recorded interviews with the captains of like all the like I think top 3 teams, but like there was just never time to actually edit them, and I still have them somewhere. So it's a lost it's not a lost media. I still have them. So maybe one day we can just edit them all and just like upload them as like an archive thing. I don't know.
I only noticed that because they're on YouTube. They're unlisted, but they're on YouTube.
Yeah, like they're there. We have them, but we just never had the time to release them because there was so much going on.
Smurge. One day we'll release the OPL files. Release them. But yeah, really cool to see Born Ghost is still active in their own way, competing here, and still an active team for sure. Again, at this point, there's very few players from Born Ghost that are still around, I think, outside of Hunted Swarm, like Hunted Swarm, who was active back then as well. So really cool to see him still active, of course, and some of these other newer faces. Up next, we have the Maestros Replay League, Season 15, Division 7. Here, actually, Maestros, he competed. Let's go. We had Pigma, we had Maestros, we had GFG, Senju, Kanuba, we had Matahari, Vortex, and Joel as well. Again, Maestros, he is a community caster for the German scene and has been organizing these events for the amateur scene over in Germany. So really cool to see. It is important to, of course, support the amateur scene as best you can, and this is the local scene to Germany, of course. Really cool to see Maestros hosting and organizing these events on a regular basis, and congratulations to Pigma and Maestros for advancing on in this group. What does this lead into? It might lead into like an end of season event, hard to say, but GG will play it. They come out on top in their group. Came out on top. That leads us into the Host Open. Host Open number 24. This is an event organized by Gustavo, by Host, of course. They're a Brazilian team. For this event, we do have Master, we have Manteiga, we have Dominoco, Tour, Papito as well. Again, a Brazilian team organizing an event for the Brazilian scene, the Brazilian region. This is a multi-day event. Bear that in mind. They are halfway through the bracket. Every series is casted, so a lot of content here, a lot of StarCraft.
Actually, we did cover this event last week, and back then they were halfway through the bracket, but they have since then finished the bracket. It just has not been updated on Wikipedia.
Okay, it's not been updated. Master, he takes down Papito 2-0, takes down Tour 2-1, and takes down Manteiga 3-0 in the grand finals. I will say though, shout out to Tour for actually posing a threat and for taking a map off of Master. Yeah, I do recall we did cover that last time. But Mastery takes down Manteiga in the grand finals 3-0. GG will play, and Mastery is going to be the champion. It looks like they're using the Cosmos's site for the brackets. Let's go. I mentioned earlier that a couple of extra sites are being used to host some of these brackets for tournaments. We've seen 2 used so far. 2 others outside of Challenge. So congratulations to Master. Up next, we did have the Legacy Weekly Japan at number 506 open.
I was gonna say I just saw another bracket website pop up, but I guess we won't be talking about it this week, so next time.
Yeah, talk about it next time. As Tapioca once again, the Boba takes down Jacko SC2 2-1 in the semifinals, takes down Noah Shirayuki, takes down Crimson, and takes down Kaiman 2-1 in the grand finals. I remember we rated them while they were organizing this event this week. And I remember we were like, yo, we're big Tapioca fans. And I was translating the chats, the Japanese chat, and they were like, oh, like Tapioca, he's got some international fans. Like, he's like, there were a lot of people that were surprised that we knew who Tapioca was. So that was very cute. It was very fun. But GG well played. Tapioca takes down Kaiman 2-1 in the grand finals. GG well played. Congratulations here to Tapioca. That leads us into the Rookie Warp Gate Invitational 2026 June Cup. This is not restricted to Rookie Warp Gate players, but is organized by the team nonetheless. Here we had Code A and Code S take place and take part. In Code A, we had Maplefield. So we had Maplefield. He took down Bukun 3-1, took down BXCN 3-1, and won the entire event 4-3. I think we already went over this last time, actually.
Yes. We already over like the challenger, I think, not the next leagues.
No, they had already seeded the bracket. So we already went over this last time. Obviously, the event hadn't concluded yet. If you recall, our prediction was, or at least my prediction was, that Stray would be able to make it through, as I was very unfamiliar with the other players in Code A. Stray did make it to the semifinals, but did get knocked down by... Let's see. Hang Bai Bai. Translates to caster. Okay. So Caster takes down Stray 3-0. It does eventually fall to Maplefield in the grand finals 4-3. Congratulations to Maplefield. That leads us into the Code S edition. Coming into this, who did we favor here? I want to say Pioneer. I was looking at Pioneer as a notable that I was familiar with. In the end, Pioneer did make it to the semifinals, but got knocked out by... Do we know this person? Boogie Pop. That's amazing. Okay. Boogie Pop takes down Pioneer 3-2 to advance on the grand finals, where he faces off against Drink, and Drink does claim the series 4-2 in said grand finals. Congratulations to Drink.
I would say for our Pan fans in the chat, we have a great other semifinals of Drink versus Flood.
He drank the Flood. Drank it all up. Crazy, baby, crazy. GG. GG, well played. But again, congratulations to Drink, as it does take the Code S division here of the tournament. Is going to be our Code S champion, and congratulations to Maplefield for becoming our Code A champion as well. GG. GG, well played. Congratulations. Leads us into the StarCraft II Weekly Open Tournament at 2026 Season 2, Number 2. And is this the one that didn't conclude, or is that the other one? If you remember, last week, we covered a StarCraft Weekly that didn't actually finish. It was like mid-tournament, if you recall. Let's have a look here. So Silky won the last one against Oriana. Silky won against Cassie, and he took down Nanu in the semifinals, took down Oriana in the grand finals as well. Here we had a smaller bracket, but I would imagine this is probably because of Douyu Cup, right? Douyu Cup probably took the attention of a bunch of people away from this. So here we had Lemon, we had Triple H, we had Misaki, Oriana did forfeit, Jolo Loves went down, and I think that's Silky in the grand finals. So Silky takes down Jolo Loves 2-0, takes down Misaki 2-1, and takes down Lemon 2-0 in the grand finals. GG, well played. Silky does claim the win. Congrats. Congratulations here to Silky. That leads us into the Inu battles. Inu battles number 17. Here we go. Here for the Inu battles, again, we've seen Inu. He's been actually hosting these on a much more regular basis as of late. Like recently, he's been hosting these much more regularly. Here we had a best of 9 between SHIN and Byeon. This was, I believe, this was on the latest patch. And SHIN, he does take down Byeon in a strong showing here, 5-1. But remember, this was before the Hotfix patch. So this was when Zerg was much more overtuned. So SHIN had a dominant showing here over Byeon, 5-1. GG. GG, well played. Congratulations here to SHIN. Does claim the win. That leads us into the Bastards Big Brain Bouts. This was also on the new patch, but this was also pre-hotfix. Here we had a couple of matches. We had the fun one with Eggs versus Jimmy. We had the good one with Hearthstone versus the Bessus, and we had the Basilisk one with Gabe versus Trigger. And again, this was on the original version of the new patch, not the hotfix. Eggs takes down Jimmy 3-1. I would call that an upset, but a big win there for Eggs, as he does claim the series. Hearthstone takes down the Bessus 3-0 in his own series, and then we had a best of 5 between Gabe and Trigger, went all the way to the ace match. Gabe takes down Trigger 3-2 in the Basilisk final show match. GG. GG, well played. Congratulations. That leads us here into the Shopify Rebellion Sundays number 6. Looks like we are going back once again to divisions. If you recall, I want to say for a time it was all on one page, but now we're going back to having it on different pages. I think that, I'm not too sure as to the rationale why we went from one format back to the other, but we're back to this one. Let's go. So Division C. C here we had Fiant.
If you remember last week, there was just no page period.
No, the one before that then, when it was all on one page, if you recall. That's what I'm making reference to. Is that we've had some of these all on one page before, but looks like we're going back to the version where it's on separate pages. So here we do have Fiant versus Trigger. Trigger, he's been playing a lot of Terran as of late and does take a map off of Fiant, but Fiant does take down Trigger 3-1 in the Division C match. Trigger showcasing his Terran, and then again, he's been streaming a lot of Terran as of late. He's improving, he's getting better, and hopefully he and we'll see if he goes full pro as Terran. I think I actually think that is the plan for Trigger, but we'll see. We'll see if we can reach it. We then had our Division B match. Here we had Percival versus Shameless. Percival does take down Shameless 3-1 in the best of 5 to claim the Division B show match. Congratulations here. Does claim the win. And that also leads us, and bearing in mind this is all in the new patch, of course, pre-hotfix, that leads us into SHIN versus Cure in that final series, Division A. SHIN does take down Cure 3-0 in this most recent show match. GG. GG, well played. Congratulations to SHIN. Again, he takes down Beyond in the best of 9, takes down Cure in the best of 5. Congrats, that leads us into our OSC events this week. Here we do have the mid-season playoffs, which I believe we covered. So here we did have Max versus Percival, takes down Percival 2-1 to advance on to the upper bracket. Solo took down Showtime 2-1 as well. Beyond took down Shameless, so we do have the upper bracket progressing over time. Likewise, we also had the lower bracket matches also conclude. I believe we did cover most of this here, but Lambert takes down Arcfire 3-1. Goblin gets a walkover win over his opponent. Cham takes down Jumi. Yakov takes down Jumi Machine. Art takes down Lilix. Harsum takes down Fiant. And we have Cristiano over Art. Iba over Nightmare. Whoa, that's a big upset. That's crazy. Iba over Nightmare. GG, well played. A very impressive showing out of Iba. GG. That we did not cast. Looks like Steadfast did cast most recent edition here of the mid-season playoffs. Big win there for Iba. GG. GG will play. That leads us into the OSC Elite Rising Star number 20, which I believe may have just begun. Let me just double check here. No, not yet. But we do have our players all seated together. Looks like it has not been updated on the Wikipedia page, but we do have, let's have a look here. Oh no, I think signups are still open, right? Yeah. So signups are still open. So this is a bit of an announcement. The OSC Rising Star number 20 has not begun yet. Signups are still open. We're going to be seeing Shameless, MidVK, Moja, Sebestis, Arocfire, Art, Shino, Vaeda, Honmono, Fiant, Baby Marine, GG Machine, Hatsu, Art, Mini Zerg UA, Defiance, Lelix, Inexorable, Yudi Soldier, Jumi, and Milky Cow. Once again, the big names that we look at here are Honmono and Shameless, but Art did have a very strong showing last season. And again, so far, signups are still open, so still more players to come. So have look forward to the up-and-coming tournaments here for up-and-coming players for the OSC The Rising Star. That leads us into this week's OSC King of the Hill. This was also on the latest patch. Here we had Jimmy versus Art as our starting series. Once again, this is a King of the Hill style format. Winner stays on, loser gets knocked out. Art takes on Jimmy, and then Young Yakov goes on a tear. Yakov takes on Art, takes on Nicorette, Inexorable, Percival, Geralt, Shino, does eventually fall to Cristiano, so well played there by Cristiano, does end the win streak of Young Yakov. Cristiano takes down Lilix, and then Bjorn runs away with it. Bjorn takes down Cristiano, Jimmy, Shameless, Fiant, Geralt, and Lilix, going on a 6-game win streak. GG. GG, well played. I believe both Yakov and Bjorn went for 6 games themselves, but Bjorn did end as the King of the Hill, so he does earn a little bit of extra prize money there. Congratulations. Congratulations to Bjorn. Shout out to Young Yakov for their respective win streaks. GG. As a result, Bjorn is going to be invited to be the starting player next week. We'll see if he accepts that invite to be the King of the Hill. Best of luck. That leads us into this week's Open Cups. Up first, we do have the Platinum Heroes StarCraft II Tour Cup number 5 for the year of 2026. This was on the newest version of the game. This was pre-hotfix. Okay, pre-hotfix. Here we had GG Machine takes on Alarak 2-0, takes on Geralt 2-0, takes on Cristiano 2-0, but actually forced a Nightmare. Yo, shout out to Nightmare, despite especially this iteration of the game being heavily Zerg favored. Nightmare takes on both Yakov and GG Machine. Fights back against the meta, fights back against the Zerg, and is actually our champion this month. Congratulations here to Nightmare for claiming the win. That leads us into the War TV Monday number 93. This was also on the live version. This was pre-hotfix, bear that in mind. We actually did cast this live. Here we had Solar took down Mana 2-0, took down Percival 2-0, took down Shin 2-1. Shin, who also took down Clem earlier in the tournament. And they had the best of five between MaxPax and Solar. Did go all the way to the ace match. MaxPax, he was playing around a lot with Skytoss rushes. He was going for like Mass Phoenix into Mothership rushes. MaxPax was being very experimental with his play and did defeat Solar twice with Skytoss. And then Solar was able to bring it back and claim the win. Was able to punish the Skytoss on at Attorney's Edge by just rushing into Mass Corruptor. GG. GG well played. So the score might be similar, but the games were interesting to say the least, as Solar does claim the win 3-2 over MaxPax. MaxPax took down Cure and Björn in the lead up to that event. So congratulations to Solar. That leads us into the Roddy Rexy Monday Cup number 1. Love that we're just coming up with new names for impromptu tournaments. Basically, this week there was no Monday Night Weekly, maybe because of Maestros. I would imagine because of Maestros, maybe there wasn't like an event, or like we just didn't reach funding for the crowdfunding for the event. But there was no Monday Night Weekly, so typically we have Rotterdam hosting the Roddy Cup, but looks like Rex also did actually put up some prize money, so it is going to be a Rex/Roddy.
By Rex, he means Rexstar.
Yeah, I was about to say that it wouldn't make sense if it was Rex because Rex didn't cast it. So it looks like Rexter did actually help sponsor the event alongside Rotterdam, and that led into, and this was also on the previous version of the game, not on the hotfix. Here we had GG Machine. GG Machine takes on Sebestus 2-0, takes down Percival 2-1, takes down a Gabe 2-0 as well. Does eventually fall to Cristiano. And I remember Cristiano, this is the tournament that he posted about. This was on this is on the previous version of the game as well. Cristiano takes down Shameless 2-1, takes down MaxPax 2-1, takes down GG Machine 2-1, and takes down Big Gabe 2-1 as well. Congratulations, huge win for Cristiano. GG, well played. And again, good start here leading into HomeStory Cup. We'll see if we can keep this going, as I think there's going to be a Cristiano Gabe rematch, right? Are they in the same group? I can't recall. They might have avoided each other, but if they're on the same group, there's going to be a rematch, which is something to look forward to for sure. Let me just double check. But a big win there for Cristiano, and yes, okay, they are in the same group. They're in the same group, so we'll see if they face off against each other. As I think they've yet to do so. Yeah, they've yet to face off. They'll be facing off in what looks to be in an hour's time. So congratulations to Cristiano. That leads us into the Big History Cup. Big History Cup number 88. This was, I believe this was the first tournament on the hotfix. Yeah, this is the first tournament on the hotfix. So hotfix hits, then bam, Big History Cup. Here we had Solar, he takes down Nickrak 2-0. We saw a very intense back and forth between Solar and Björn. Solar does take down Björn 3-2, but that could have gone either way, to be honest. And then we had a back and forth between Solar and Cure. So Solar did win the tournament. We alluded to this earlier, that on the new hotfix patch, ZBTs have been a lot more competitive, which is a good thing, and these matches here are definitely ones to look at. Even though Solar had a stronger showing versus Cure in the score, like it was actually a very, very clutch back and forth between them. So I do recommend it. Could have gone either way, both Solar versus Björn and versus Cure as well. GG well played. Really fun games there. Do recommend it. Congratulations to Solar. And that led us into the second tournament of the patch of the hotfix. That was Kung Fu Cup yesterday, or sorry, even 2 days ago at this point. But we had Kung Fu Cup. That was Cure. Cure takes down Chance 2-1, takes down Ryung 2-1, takes down Percival 2-0. A lot of TVTs, especially the lower half of the bracket. We avoided that portion because of all the Terran versus Terran. That led into Cure advancing on to the grand finals. Meanwhile, Clem, he took down Geralt 2-0, took down Shin 2-1. We mentioned this earlier, but again, ZBT has been a lot more back and forth on the hotfix, and Clem does finally beat a Zerg. He's been losing at Zergs for the past 2 weeks, and finally he does beat a Zerg. He beats Shin of all players as well, a very strong player. So Clem does take down Shin, and Clem does defeat Cure 3-0 in the grand finals. GG well played. Congratulations. Cure does claim the tournament, does claim the first Kung Fu Cup of the new hotfix. GG well played. Congratulations. Once again, we spoke about this at the start of the broadcast, but the hotfix is a step in the correct direction. Like, it's a step in a good direction here. Things have been looking better since the hotfix, but there's still things that have been left unaddressed. It's still a little bit undercooked. There's still hopefully some more hotfixes to come. And again, it all comes down to HomeStory Cup this weekend to give a little bit more limelight to some of the other aspects of the patch, to some of the other matchups, and to hopefully give some more feedback and give some more data to Blizzard to allow for another hotfix to occur. So it all comes down to HomeStory Cup this weekend as the big event to look at. GG. GG, well played. Congratulations to Clem. And that was the final weekly of the week. Oh boy. If you want to take part in some of these tournaments, ! Sign up list in the chat. So we do have the sign up list available. We have the Galaxy Open Cup. That is right around the corner. It looks like that is going to be tomorrow, but that's actually going to be on the previous version of the game. Oh, interesting. Okay. Choi Galaxy hosting a tournament on the old version. We then have the Legacy Weekly Japan, we have the amateur tournaments, we have Sparkling Tuna Cup this weekend, Wooden TV Mondays, Bigger Cups, and more events around the corner. Plenty of content, plenty of StarCraft. Some of this might be rescheduled. I should emphasize that, especially our tournaments, subject to change, so bear that in mind. Some other things might be going on. But otherwise, again, plenty of Open Cups to be a part of. Likewise, if you want to support us, you can do so monetarily via Patreon. Patreon in the chat. Our Patreon does fund our tournaments on a regular basis. I do apologize for us not having Tuna Cup last week. The reasoning for that is because of Douyu Cup. Right, those RSL qualifiers, Douyu Cup as well. Like there was a lot of other events that were taking up our time, so we couldn't have a Tuna Cup last week. Actually, we did have a Tuna Cup last week. My apologies. I'm not apologizing for anything. We had one last week. But this week, that's it. This week, we might have to reschedule. This weekend is full of HomeStory Cup, so that's it. So this weekend is full of HomeStory Cup, so that's why there's no Tuna Cup this week. We pushed it to Monday, but there might be another event taking place, so just bear that in mind.
Actually, we didn't. Also, last week we had Tuna on Tuesday, but we didn't have the Sunday one, and it would be on Tuesday normally, but that's when RSL qualifiers were. So yes, there's still a gap.
Yeah, so with that, we'll see if Tuna Cup does occur this week or not. Again, there's other events to come. It's just a really busy time in StarCraft, and we're trying to find a time for our own tournaments. We do our best to host them on a regular basis. We do our best. And again, Patreon is the place to be to fund those tournaments and to grow the events even further for bigger prize pools and for bigger names to take part in our Tuna Cups. Otherwise, thanks for watching. Thanks so much for tuning in. We're going to be hosting, the HomeStory Cup, of course, is starting. It has already begun, and will be taking place over the next 3 days. 3 days of HomeStory Cup action. Do tune in. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be amazing, going to be beautiful, and again, it's going to be the best place to keep an eye on the latest patch to see kind of what feedback to provide, what needs help, what doesn't need help, what works, what doesn't work, and where we want to, and the direction that we want to take the game in as well. So it's going to be crucial for that. Do tune in, do take part, do take care. Otherwise, thanks for watching. Thanks so much for the support. We do appreciate it. So we're going to be wrapping up here for the time being, and we'll be giving most likely some of the HomeStory Cup boys a raid. So give them some love, give them some support. Otherwise, we'll be heading off here for the evening. Big shout out to Kuro, of course, for handling the production side of things. And next time, we should be able to cover all of the other SCHistorian interviews. As I mentioned, there's a lot of interviews to go over. We didn't quite have the time to do so this week. Next week, we'll get on it. Otherwise, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. See you tomorrow for the Crank Gatherers tournament. True. See you tomorrow.